side, 2 to play. Curry, deep three. Hit it! Steph does it again.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
I'm probably in a minority. As we get more involved in global basketball, the NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. And I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Some games, they just completely take away, for example, my 3. And then every basket I have to earn with meat.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody.
What is happening?
Dirt hanging out. We got Corn Pop filling in for Swag today.
What's up, Corn Pop?
How we doing?
How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic.
Feeling better, not puking all over the studio?
Oh, God. You were sick? We
I had
got
to
sick
leave-
Schultz. We got sick Corn Pop.
I had to leave Monday with literal food poisoning. It was just all of a sudden hit me during prime time. I'm like, I gotta go. So Buck, who was hosting the show, had to slip over and produce and host too.
Get right to the meat.
I've had bad timing being around you and then becoming sick.
Yeah,
You're worrying me right now.
You feel like you're our culprit around the office
got
right
the
now, Schultz.
norovirus.
You gonna
It
come
ain't food
cough on me
poisoning.
after the show today?
Oh,
You gonna
no.
get me sick today?
It was bad milk, you guys. It's fine.
Bad milk.
Bad milk.
No, because
huh?
my wife got it too, and we kind of pinpointed, all right, what do we do?
milk was a bad choice.
What kind of milk?
Whole
Bad
milk,
mommy's milk.
but it was. I think we played the game that we shouldn't have. It was 2 or 3 days away from the expiration, and it was on discount when we bought it. You don't do that. Don't do that.
How much was that discount?
Half off, and milk is expensive. It's
not a bad
$6?
deal.
$6?
Yeah, the regular stuff.
What do you buy? A 2-gallon? Are you a 2-galloner?
Well, if I go to the Costco and get the 2-gallon, that's 6 or 7.
Can I give
that's
you
not what I'm talking
The big old jugs.
Can I give you a secret?
Please do.
I think a life hack, to be honest with you. I'm
Let's
a big
go.
fan of that company.
Big
Okay?
fan of Costco.
Huge.
ditto.
Love Costco.
Happy card-carrying member.
Yes.
There are 2 things, without a doubt, I will never buy at that place.
Okay.
Fruit, vegetables, combo. Put them in the same category.
Never do it.
Well, yeah, there's too much. Yeah.
There's too much and they go bad quickly and it just, you can't
They
eat
go
that
bad
much fruit.
Way too quickly.
Way too quick.
And milk.
Yeah.
Like traditional milk. I buy almond milk because almond milk doesn't really have an expiration. It's just water. It's nut water.
Yeah.
But traditional dairy milk, I
lot of
don't
nut
buy
water.
that because those are. I have 4 people in my house, and my kids like milk. They're not drinking it all the time or
Glass of milk every day, but
No.
yeah, cereal, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's no chance anybody uses that milk unless you've got a family of 6
No
or you're
chance.
buying that for a business.
Yes. Or you're having a party where you need a lot of milk, or you're making a bunch of things where you need a ton of milk, that
Or
kind of
you
stuff.
have somebody named Jordan Schultz in your house that loves milk.
Is that all you drink? You're a big milk guy.
I
huh?
Those are
love-
huge jugs.
They're 1 gallon each. You get 2 gallons, and it's basically the cost of just over 1 at the store. When you go to Costco, you get 2 for the same
How many
price.
glasses of milk do you have a day?
Yeah,
Is that a normal, you'd multiple, or is it?
1 to 3.
Really?
Yes.
1 to
love me some
3?
milk.
Wow.
And sometimes I just
You
won't.
love the sugar water, don't you?
When was the last time you had a glass of milk?
It's been
You poured your, I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a glass out. I have different options, and I'm going to pour milk in a glass
around
and drink it.
Christmas time. I poured maybe 2 shots worth of milk in a cup so I could dip an Oreo.
Okay, that doesn't count for me.
Okay, then if
you
you're
might
just
even have finished the
standalone,
milk
yeah.
at that point, but it's only because it was Oreo milk at that
When you
point.
get cookies, you have to
If
have
you're
milk.
talking
That's
about
a must.
standalone milk,
Standalone milk. I'm for dinner
Years.
tonight, I want a glass of milk.
years.
I couldn't even tell you when the last time I had a glass of milk was.
Me either.
Heathens.
I mean, rarely even the only milk I ever get is almond milk, primarily because it's good for 17 years. You buy a thing of almond milk and you look at the expiration date, and it's 2047 of April. This is going to be good until I'm 59 years old. If it's in the cupboard and I don't drink it, it's not going to go bad. I don't have to worry about it. Can I add one more to the Costco no buy list?
Sure.
Big fan of Costco.
Well,
Love Costco.
There's very few things
Very
that I
few
would say
things.
you don't buy there.
I think you hit 2 of them on the head. The
Yeah.
other one that I'm going to add to it, bagels/bread.
Oh,
I feel like
Same thing.
I've gotten
Yeah.
Costco bagels before, and you have to get 2 of them.
Boy, they go
You
bad.
can't get 1. And I had a time where it was 3 days later. I had already eaten 2 of the bagels, And then I went to get one like on my way to work, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Mold.
I just bought these on Tuesday. It's Friday, and it's already up. All right, there go the bagels.
Well, and
Can't eat
that's-
the bagels.
That's an item I feel like you can get for the same price better at other
Not a
places.
great
There's
deal.
a local bakery scene here with
Yes.
a lot of good bagels. I don't need that.
Totally fair point.
I bought the croissants
Totally fair
because I
point.
got kids post school now. I got a couple kids that we watch every day, and so I'm like, I was thinking about them at Costco, and I'm like, who doesn't love a croissant, right?
I love
true.
it. I love
And you
croissants.
went
so
through 2
good.
of them.
God, they're so good.
And those boxes, you look at it, it's a big box, and
For a church like after party.
it kind of is, yeah.
got a congregation of 100. I need a lot of croissants.
The funniest thing was the day I bought them, the kids got to my house, and I was all excited. I'm like, "You guys want a croissant?" No.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, cool.
Kids are anti-croissants now, huh?
But croissants kind of get like this too. If you don't jump in on it.
Yeah, they go quick.
And I don't know if you've noticed this. They've done a muffin change.
Ooh.
This was kind of underrated breaking news.
I haven't seen the muffin change at Costco.
They don't make their traditional muffins anymore. They make small, tiny little muffins at 6 counts now.
That's good.
And
That's
I
what you
would
need
argue
to do.
it's better.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
But I do miss seeing the giant chocolate chip muffin that I'm like, that's
Just the
basically-
big ass case
The
of muffins.
chocolate chip and the poppy seed. That's
I
childhood.
mean, the
right
blueberry's
there,
good
baby.
too.
Yeah,
The
blueberries
lemon
good.
raspberry. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
is
you're
there a
starting to-
bad one? That's
Yeah,
a poll question.
I
Does
think there's a
Costco
couple
make a
bad
bad
ones.
muffin? I don't think they do.
I don't know if they do. I genuinely don't know if they do. I love thinking of the reduced price shopping, though. My dad is a prime candidate of this. Like every time I'm over at their house and I look in the fridge, there's 3 or 4 things that have the reduced price tag on them. And I always think to myself, like, I get it.
Do you do it?
No, I'm not a big reduced price guy.
I did it for.
Because that just tells me like that's going bad. Like if you're getting reduced price something, you need to eat it that day.
the shot clock's
It's
winding
the shot
down.
clock is
Yeah.
on. You're in the pocket and it's collapsing around you. And if I don't eat that thing in the next 8 hours, something bad's gonna happen
Well,
here.
it's something bad did happen.
Exactly.
For like 48
Yeah.
hours.
Coming
and
out of both ends
it's
over
like,
there, man.
I got proof if I wanted to sue. Like I literally had to leave the show. But no, when I think of if I got a couple of days, it's half off. I'm usually drinking a 2-pack from Costco within the week, anyways. It doesn't seem like it's that far off that I'd be able to finish it to me. But I don't know. When you taste it and you don't really realize something's off until like after you eat it, you're kind of already screwed.
If I know that I'm going to use it day of, 2 days ago I made spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
There was a ground beef, reduced price.
Ah,
I'm
hell
cooking
yeah.
this tonight.
yeah, that's okay.
And
That's
the color
acceptable.
didn't look weird. I'm
and
like,
you're
I'll take
cooking
that.
it, so
Yep.
it's if there's anything weird in there, you're gonna cook it in a couple hours.
Right,
Totally
yeah.
fair. Totally
I
acceptable.
don't dabble in a lot of the reduced price. Sometimes a bread, like a fancy bread that you cut.
Ah.
I dabble in that. I go to the clearance rack all the time.
Do
at
you really?
Freddy's.
You go to the clearance rack, huh?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I hate to tell you this dirty little secret.
What you got?
I sometimes buy big bulk, like baked goods on the clearance rack, and then I bring them here and I just leave them out for people.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just don't tell anybody it's me.
Oh.
Oh wow, that
I
was
don't go to the kitchen very often, so I never see baked goods.
But like,
back
if you ever
there.
see a box of donuts,
Yeah, that's you. You're the
That's
box
you.
of donuts
or
guy.
like the little cherry turnovers with
you.
sugar sprinkled on them randomly in the break area.
Look
That's
at you.
me.
What a great employee you are.
Well, I didn't mean to do that out loud,
I think
but
you
like
did, yeah.
I do dabble in the clearance area.
You're Larry David Anonymous right now. You're anonymous. You want people to know you're anonymous. It's okay.
well, nobody's listening.
Do you know who Anonymous is? I'm Anonymous.
Nobody's listening.
It's like Michael Scott in The Office. Like, how do you know that he made that donation? Because I'm him.
I'm him.
Like,
I'm the
thanks,
guy. I'm the
thanks,
guy
buddy.
that did it, man. People are supporting Schultze on this, by the way. Single guy here texted in. I buy the 2-pack of whole milk from Costco,
I commend you.
and I finish them before they expire.
Wow.
I usually drink a glass of milk every night with dinner.
You're Jim Harbaugh.
He's Jim Harbaugh. None of that
go.
candy ass skim stuff. We're talking 2%.
I would add
Whole
to
milk.
it. I don't drink milk, Schultze, but I would tell you that eating, for some reason, a bowl of spaghetti. I used to drink milk every time with spaghetti back in the day, and when I eat spaghetti, I still have moments where I'm like, a glass of cold milk would hit the spot, but I
That'd be
never do
nice.
it.
That'd be nice.
Isn't
It's
that-
not bad.
No, I'm on that. Isn't that weird that like that Italian feel? Because I did the same with pizza. When I was a kid, like hot pizza, a nice ice cold glass of milk. And I'm not saying
Interesting.
I would have it with
Pizza and
everything.
milk, huh?
But pizza, yeah, not even like chocolate milk. Just the go-to is regular, really cold milk.
Mine's
Oh
a
my
Coke
God.
when I eat pizza.
Yeah, I gotta go.
That's
So
not
any
bad.
kind of soda's fine with me.
because I
Usually
dip the
Coke.
crust in the Coke after I eat the
Yeah.
pizza.
Well, that's disgusting.
Have you tried it?
Yes, it's good. I'm kidding.
Coke flavored bread. It's pretty delightful.
I would do it.
Somebody said they changed the recipe along with the size, and I'm told sales are plummeting right now. So maybe muffin. I haven't bought muffins there in a while. It's been a minute since I've got one of those big cases of muffins.
We didn't eat them enough.
I hope
No, I can't eat that many muffins, and I haven't had any parties anytime
I
recently.
hope that's somebody that actually works there giving us that, because that's hilarious. It's like, I'm told sales are plummeting.
we have the inside scoop right now on what's happening with the muffin sales currently.
I did want to actually go talk to the bakers because they were standing really close to where you grab the muffins,
Yeah.
making the next batch or whatever.
Hey, what's up with these smaller muffins, man?
But I didn't do it.
Didn't
Because
do it.
I like to dabble in the baked good area of Costco because I don't buy anything. I just like to tell fat me,
Oh, that looks good.
oh, you'd eat that whole thing, wouldn't you, fatty?
I'd eat that in 2 hours.
Oh, look at you, you little
Down,
fatty.
I'm fat.
I am so fat deep
Sound
down.
like Tony Perkins. You're like shocking yourself in the bread aisle at Costco. Every time you look at a
How you
cookie.
doing, little Tony?
Yeah. That's a cake. I'm not going to eat
See
it.
that massive cheesecake for like $16, and then you get it, you eat one piece. You feel terrible about yourself.
Dude,
and then
I
you're
do,
like,
yes.
what the hell am I going to do with the rest of this cheesecake?
I hate to tell you, I bought the apple pie around New Year's. It was like kind of one of my last like hurrah desserts. Like, and I had a lot of people coming over to my house, so I bought the apple pie, the frosted apple pie.
Oh, yes.
Man, I had like 4 slices of that thing, and I ended up throwing a big chunk of it out. I'm like, I can't do this.
I can't eat all this, man.
It's really good.
It's
just
delicious.
Like, unless
It's
you
just-
got 30 people, it's too big.
I can't handle all this. The only thing that I ever connect in my head with the glass of milk is like a piece of chocolate cake.
Ooh,
Like if I'm having a piece of chocolate cake, that's the only time I'm ever like, you know what would go good with this? A nice glass of milk.
probably the best one.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
got to
3
take the
that we
cake,
just
I would
gave.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
I agree 1,000%.
Because pizza's more of a childhood thing. I don't know how many people actually have pizza and milk together. That seems like
true. That's a
you-
me
that's a
thing.
nostalgia in your head where it seems like it's going to feel
He also
good.
loves milk.
He also is a big milk guy.
I've always wondered why when people bring out cake at parties, they don't bring out milk to assist. Because I
Schultze's looking around at the party. Where's my 2%? Man, where's my,
Come on, let's
come
go.
on, where's my
Now-
whole milk?
now if you got coffee, that's fine. But come on, include some milk. Let's
Yeah,
go,
milk's
baby.
better with cake than coffee. The coffee
I
at night
agree.
thing with dessert after dinner is very weird to me.
It's a
It's a
What is
very
that?
weird. Like I don't like coffee that late in the day to begin with. Let
What's
alone
the
like-
latest you? Because yesterday I have practices on Tuesday, Wednesdays.
yeah, you got to stay up. You got to stay alert later.
I had a coffee yesterday at 4.
That's
and
pretty
ended
late.
I ended up going to bed by 9:20.
Okay, it's not bad.
Got
Yeah, that's
home,
good.
showered, went to
My
bed.
personal cutoff is like for our job 3:00.
Yeah.
Like if it's at like 1:30, 1:45, 2:00, and I'm dragging a little bit, I'll pop a Celsius or a coffee. Like, all right, let's get through the rest of the day.
Right.
If it's 3:30, 4:00, no, I can't do that.
Mm.
Then I'm going to be laying in bed staring at the ceiling. My feet will be twitching at like 11:30.
Milk. Do you think it's gone down, or has it stayed the same in terms of the consumption by America?
In American society,
Because I feel like when
Probably
we
gone
were
down.
all kids,
I had a glass of milk with dinner every night when I was a kid.
I did drink milk
every night.
pretty regularly, and now like I don't get near the.
Do you do that with your kids though? Like glass of milk at dinner? No. Did your mom do that with you when you were a kid? Glass of milk, a normal thing,
She didn't push it,
and then push it.
but she bought milk, and
Yeah.
then she just observed that I just chose to drink it.
I feel like that was a normal. Like no matter what we wanted, it was like every night at dinner, glass of milk.
yeah, that's
And I
fair.
didn't always
Yeah.
drink it, but there was always a glass of milk there on the table waiting for you.
Your mom poured your milk for you.
She did pour my milk for me. Yeah,
Wow.
I know, isn't that wild.
My mom gave me instructions on the microwave because she was working her second job.
Why don't you go ahead and take that out of the fridge, you lazy bastard? Do it
Yeah,
yourself.
pour that
Why don't
cup
you
yourself.
pull up your bootstraps
Take-
on your own over there.
take the
Jesus,
foil
you
off and pour your
freeloader.
glass.
God. John said, by the way, here's a milk fact for you, Schultze, since you're a big milk guy.
Yeah.
Something to realize, milk stored at 40 degrees in your refrigerator will only last for around 7 days, he says.
Okay.
However, milk stored at 34 degrees will last approximately for 3.5 weeks after opened.
Okay. Perfect. I
So
like
if you
things
turn the
colder
fridge down,
anyways.
turn it down a little bit, it's going to last a little bit longer for you. Get 2 more weeks out of that milk.
I'm currently stuck because I use milk sometimes to cook with. It's I'm stuck in between. I buy the half gallon and not the bigger ones
Mhm.
because if I buy the bigger ones, the milk's gonna go bad.
Yes.
Well,
But
if I come over to your house, just know you can buy a bigger one. I'll help you out.
But if I buy the half,
Schultze's in here.
I tend to look in the fridge and go, I gotta get another one of these.
Where the hell's Schultze at? I think he's in the kitchen, man. He took his shirt off. He's chugging whole milk. I don't know
Doing
what's
the
going
gallon
on.
milk challenge.
Just hoarding all the milk. The next pandemic. Where's all the milk gone? Schultz at home.
Schultz
got it all.
got cases in his basement.
I've legitimately thought, what the hell am I going to do if the world ends? Like, I got to find a cow or something because I will be so mad if there is no access to milk.
The one
Seriously.
that tripped, I think, my wife out early in our dating life was my mom once in a while would try to buy ahead of time because I would go through milk pretty quickly. So she'd buy 2, she'd freeze 1, and I did that. And that was really weird for a lot of people coming over to my house seeing a frozen
Does
thing
that
of milk.
work?
I'm still standing.
I'm still here.
I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm
It's
legitimately
okay.
asking.
I don't know if I've ever heard of somebody freezing milk. I don't know.
It does
You can-
freeze.
you can
It
freeze almond
freezes.
milk.
It freezes.
No, I know you buy the almond milk, the
You
half
can
gallon.
freeze almond milk?
You can freeze that stuff, yes. And
Okay.
that's why it helps
But
last a
the
long
almond
time,
milk
yeah.
doesn't go bad.
No.
The regular milk will.
It goes bad.
But I'm telling you, I'd buy one that said like expiration date 2/17. Freeze it. I'd be drinking that bitch in April.
Still good.
Damn.
And it tasted fine.
It's still good. It was frozen for 3 months.
Doesn't it freeze in the time in which it's frozen?
I think that's how it works.
Okay.
And then you just expand the expiration date out from there.
Somebody's going to text it and be like, how did you not die?
How are you still alive? Schultz was the one with food poisoning?
Yeah,
I'm
what
not
the
buying
hell?
it. You're drinking frozen milk over there, man. How are you not vomiting currently?
I don't know.
Good milk conversation to open the show today.
It does a body good.
You got to build strong bones, right? I know what to tell you. You need your calcium.
My friend used to collect the SI Kids, you remember the fold-out posters?
How could you
Oh,
forget
my
those?
God.
His
Milk.
whole wall was covered in. He had every single one, and I would say, and I'm probably exaggerating here a little bit, it felt like half of them were athletes in the Got Milk ad.
What an ad campaign.
That was a really popular ad
Yeah.
campaign for a long time. The Got
Hell
Milk
yeah.
with the white mustache.
Yeah, it basically looked like glue on your.
When we got older, we started making other jokes. You know what I mean?
It was like Mark McGuire. Like, yeah, that's why you're big, huh, Mark? you
yeah,
were drinking
drink
milk.
that
That's how you got
milk.
big muscles.
well, they don't talk about it. The food pyramid
Not
was
a needle in your butt. That's not how it happened.
the food pyramid was like inverted the wrong way most of our lives.
Ah.
You guys need to eat bread and drink milk every day. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they told us to eat cereal, like 7 to 10 servings of that
Crazy.
stuff. Grains, heavy on that.
People are now texting in thoughts on the frozen milk. That's going to become a thing. I got a feeling we're going to have some Sprague in the Line sponsors tomorrow on frozen milk.
Sometimes my mom would jump
gonna
on
take
deals
over.
and she didn't want to lose those deals.
Hey.
$1 off
I
now.
don't blame you. It's cheap milk right now. Grab it, freeze it.
Yeah, I don't
Be
know.
good in a month.
I'll have to check what those comments
How long
are.
does it take to thaw before you drink it, too?
About a full day and a half.
I mean, you got to give that some time. You don't want an ice chunk in your glass of milk. That's not good.
This will be the grosser part. When she'd thaw the big milk, she'd take it out, leave it on the counter the morning of. When we would come home from school, it would
that S in
still
the
be
fridge.
about 30% frozen.
right. Chunk of ice in there.
And then by that night, we would then put it in the fridge. So all day, the milk that thawed quickly was just out,
Just sitting
at
out.
room temperature.
That's good. I'm sure that's good for the compounds and the components inside the carton. Nothing bad's happening there. You're totally fine.
I don't do that to my kids.
You got nothing to
That's
worry
good
about,
news.
dude. Your insides are doing great.
Thanks.
How am I the one with stomach issues on this show? How did this work out? I wasn't drinking frozen milk over here yet. I still got screwed.
That's my version of eating dirt.
That
It made it stronger.
That's right.
All right, well, let's get going. We got a lot to get to. I want to start. Stop reacting. Just stop. It's so stupid. Stop reacting. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Sam Brookhouse of Sumer Sports. He's in Mobile, Alabama, covering the Senior Bowl for Sumer Sports. And he's going to join us at 7 o'clock.
I'd be curious to ask him about some of the local guys.
Absolutely. There's a few I'm curious about, including the quarterback.
Yeah. Where does he fit? How are people evaluating him? It's an interesting one for me.
He is the fastest throw at Senior Bowl history.
Strongest arm west of the Mississippi, man. That's the way it works.
So we'll talk with him at 7. We got Tyson Alger today. We'll talk about the Ducks basketball team. They got a game against Mick Cronin and the UCLA Bruins tonight.
Mick Cronin doesn't have to bitch about this one. It's in L.A., I believe, right? It's down at UCLA. He doesn't have to travel all the way to see the Empire State Building to play.
Well, is this team still soft?
I don't know. I don't know if they're soft. I also love the complaining from a coach who clearly knew what they were signing up. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? You were only going to play West Coast teams in the Big Ten? It doesn't happen. Rutgers is in that conference.
I think the complaining isn't so much about the actual circumstance. I think it's more about, like, my team's not amazing.
Yeah, if I was better, I wouldn't be complaining about traveling so much.
Right.
Because I wouldn't be losing games left and right.
So sometimes in sports with hockey or baseball or basketball, basically any sport but football, and even football gets this sometimes, we get slow parts of our job where we randomly dive into, hey, if you could fix the game, what would you change? What would you fix?
What's wrong with your sport right now, man?
And somebody yesterday talked openly about changing their sport, and I think it's a real problem. And Adam Silver, he took over, and everybody instantly gave him flowers. I was certainly one of them. Oh, man, look at this. He's such a good commissioner, and he got Sterling out of the league, and oh, my God, he's amazing. And as time has gone on, he has certainly negotiated financially a benefit for the league, but he, from time to time, I think, dabbles in too much reactionary stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he did this with the All-Star game. It's going to be a weird format now, and everything's kind of changing.
Yeah, 4 teams now, right? If I'm not mistaken.
God forbid, ESPN First Take debate if your game is good anymore or not for a half hour. God forbid.
Can't have that.
Yesterday, he went on a national show, and he suggested that they're looking at potentially changing NBA quarters to 10 minutes to serve the fan that's complaining about length of season, time of game, all of that. Something to tweak to make the sport better. And I just see this, and I roll my eyes, and I go, can you log off Twitter?
Yeah, get out of the web.
Can you get off the internet and stop acting like Reddit user Bob883322_000A ZXY?
It's a lot of letters and numbers.
Is the definition of how everybody feels about your sport. I just don't understand reacting at all times to the negative instead of pointing to just the positive and continuing to tread on with your league.
The funniest thing about this, because I saw this yesterday too, the argument that he's trying to make is that they want to have games be in that 2-hour window. They feel like that's the sweet spot for younger generations who are too distracted by their phones and they don't want to sit and watch a long game. So that was the whole theory behind it. But the irony that I had pop into my head was that every time somebody complains about the NBA, which is often, people complain about the NBA quite a bit. Most people don't watch the league and they just decide to complain about it anyways.
Bad faith arguments.
I don't feel like anybody's ever argued that the games are too long. Like when I hear people complain about the NBA, there's a pecking order of like, the season's kind of too long. A lot of the games early in the year don't matter. Hey, why don't some of your stars play? There was a graphic of Joel Embiid the other day of like 400 games played, 400 games missed. Like load managing becomes a thing.
Three-pointers.
Too many three-pointers, right? Is there enough effort? Like you go down the pecking order. All of these things can at times be valid arguments and things that maybe Adam Silver should address and contemplate. Are there changes that we need to make? I don't know if I've ever heard somebody say, you know why I don't watch the NBA? Games are too long.
Me either.
Because I feel like NBA games, they're not quite to the level of soccer, but it's a pretty tight window. Like when I turn on an NBA game and I'm going to watch it from start to finish, I'm not thinking to myself, oh, God, this is going to take me all night. I wish the games would start a little bit earlier so I could go to bed earlier from time to time. Mm-hmm. But the games are, 2.5 hours on average? Pretty tight. Sometimes I feel like a little bit quicker than that. And then what does this do to the minutes rotation of players in your league? So what are NBA quarters currently? 12 minutes?
Yep, 48 total.
So you're losing 2 minutes a quarter. Are you going to cut the starters' minutes if you cut quarter time? I'm assuming not. So then do you lessen your rotation? Do teams become more top-heavy?
This just isn't.
There's an unintended consequence there that I don't know if he's even thinking about.
But I know why they're not going to do it. Gate money, TV, commercials, advertising,
Records.
It's number of games is a bigger problem.
Way bigger
than
problem.
it is minutes in the game. Their average time is 2 hours and 22 minutes.
That's not bad at all.
Frankly, though, I think they could structure them better because baseball, they found out that an average of 2 to 2.5 hours is palatable by shortening stuff the way that they did. I think
220 is a good time.
Yeah, that's a great time.
Well, baseball had the problem though of like it's and some people enjoyed it. The old timies did, but it's like it's a never-ending sport. There's no clock. There's no restriction. You can leave the mound and leave the batter's box whenever you want.
That.
So I think that was a change that has been welcomed in baseball because it was way too slow.
But I think that there are similar ways, not necessarily with the gameplay, that you could affect the time of the game, but you don't have to force a timeout to be called like at 6 minutes and at 3 minutes. Like I know they need to schedule breaks in there. I get that. There are commercials, but they can find a way to do that. And they've been really good with like those little 30-second, minute insert ad blurps.
You
right
still
back
see the
into
game. It's a split screen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's ways to do that, and it's 2025, people. We're not going to be able to advertise the way that we have traditionally to people, so I think a way to keep it maybe a little bit more interesting and in that timeline, stop the random timeouts, the forced stop at 6 minutes, at 3 minutes, and then stop forcing timeouts to be gotten rid of in the last 2 minutes of the game. Maybe make it interesting. If I'm Chauncey Billups and I don't want to call a timeout for the entire game and save 6 of them for the end, you know what? I think a lot more people would tune in to the end of an NBA game. I think Adam Silver's thinking about this all wrong.
Corn pop going on.
Corn pop firing from the hip today. I like it.
Thinking about this last night in bed, I'm like, why is this?
I just don't think he's reacting. I largely don't think he should be reacting at all. To be honest with you, you just got a $76 billion deal. Like people can hate your league and
viewership numbers can be what they want. You signed that deal; it's not going anywhere.
It's a lot of money, and it's an 11-year deal. Like you're worrying about something that's 10.5 years out. I just think it makes you look. I think it makes you look a little goofy,
reactionary.
To
be
always
honest.
be reacting to something. I certainly know it as much as anybody. Like I hear what people say about the league. I see the text. I see the YouTube chats. I get tweets. Like I totally hear and see it. It's not really what I see when I watch the league. There are some games where I go, damn, dude, we're just going to shoot 20% from three, and we're just all going to keep shooting 63s.
Just keep chucking, yeah.
Those nights happen, certainly, but there's, like, Nuggets-Knicks last night was a great game.
Thunder
Warriors was a great game.
Yeah, that dunk by GP2 at the end.
I mean, like, there are a lot of great, and Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, I think, more so than anybody else, they seem to be, like, poster children of load management, not going to play, but we take them and we blanket over all the stars in the NBA. It's somebody say, I haven't watched the league in years. Load management, players don't play, too many threes. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're wrong, but that's I can't argue. I'm not going to change your mind. You got to just do that yourself. So
you're projecting a small number of players onto the rest of the league as if it's a normal thing that guys are only playing 48 games a year.
I've always praised the NFL of when something isn't working in game, not minutes, but like penalties. The NFL won't hesitate. They will change it over the summer and they will try something. And sometimes it doesn't work.
And then they change it back.
And then they change it. Reviewing pass interference. Here, we're going to do this now. Hey, they're never changing it because they don't want to admit they're wrong. Okay, we're going to go back to just it's subjective, and that's it. What happens, happens. But you can't react to every possible narrative of your league the way they do. And so, like, I think he's a really smart guy. I know the in-season tournament is a joke for most. I think in like 10 years, people are going to kind of like it. It's going to be a fun thing. And I just stop reacting to every little complaint about your league. I just think it's a bad look for the league.
Yeah, a couple thoughts at the Vancouver Ford text line, because I think it's something that a lot of people heard yesterday, and they're like, takes on it.
You know what? Let's
carry it over?
Yeah, carry it over a little bit.
Hold it.
I also want to ask a basketball player question. How good will this guy get? I'll tell you who I'm talking about. We'll read some of your thoughts as Adam Silver says the NBA might change the amount of minutes in a quarter from 12 to 10. So he might change all of that because he wants the games to be a little shorter. We'll get to that coming up next, but first, Schulte with a sports update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, big news in the NFL is the New York Jets hiring Steve Wilks to be their defensive coordinator under new head coach Aaron Glenn. Wilks took 2024 off after he was fired as the 49ers defensive coordinator following their loss to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. Elsewhere, the Las Vegas Raiders deciding to retain D coordinator Patrick Graham under new head coach Pete Carroll. He's been with the franchise since 2022 after being hired by Josh McDaniels. On to the association, the Trailblazers back at it tonight for Game 3 of a 7-game homestand, this time against the Orlando Magic. Jeremy Grant listed as questionable, says he's got a sore ankle, and despite Portland's recent success, Orlando still coming in as a 5.5-point favorite. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. for that one. On the college hardwood, the 16th ranked Oregon Ducks on the road taking on Big Ten foe UCLA as a 4.5-point underdog. Coverage gets going right here on the Fan at 7 p.m. Tip-off set for 7:30 on FS1. And the Portland Pilots also on the road taking on Loyola Marymount. They're an 11.5-point underdog. Coverage for that one starts on 910 ESPN at 6:30. Tip-off is at 7 on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
This is your home for all-day NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
The Winterhawks host their annual Hawks Fight Cancer Night this Saturday. The Hawks will debut their Fight Cancer jersey, and portion of the proceeds from the game and Fight Cancer merchandise sales will benefit local cancer fighting organizations. Stand up against cancer. Get your tickets now at winterhawks.com.
What's up, football fans? BetMGM is giving you the chance to win up to $250,000 in bonus bet credits. It's all part of BetMGM's longest touchdown jackpot, where you could be able to split the grand prize with anyone else who bet on the longest touchdown of the week. Log into your BetMGM account today and opt into the promo. Then place an anytime touchdown wager of $10 or more on the player of your choice, up to one player per game. If your player scores the longest touchdown of the week, you'll win a share of the $250K in credits. BetMGM and GameSense
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Maybe at some point in my life, I'll have time on the show to talk about how NASA scientists got a space rock, and in studying it, found evidence that there is life.
We got life?
There's some amino acids on this rock. Like, this is a protein that's really crucial for us to exist.
We got the peoples out there. Where are they at? When they going to come visit us?
How disappointing would it be to find out there's just literally another form of human on a different planet? Like, they don't even look different. They're exactly like it. They're farting, they're burping, they hate each other. The drugs are amazing.
Are they Democrats and Republicans, too? Is that a thing on their planet?
They call it something else, you know, but it's the same idea.
Oh, yeah, you're a Republican. You're a Democrat.
Zergs or whatever, some weird name.
They're destroying their planet. The water scarcity's a thing. We got these fires. You guys got fire? You know what fire is? Like, oh,
Didn't
yeah, we
you
know
guys
what
see, what, a week ago, I think I read that there was like a signal that was bounced back to us from somewhere else.
We got a signal back?
Yeah, that had to have been created by.
Oh, yeah.
Was Jodie Foster behind it? She was sending it out into the outer regions, and it came back?
I watched
Jodie
Interstellar.
Foster,
that could just be
McConaughey.
future us.
That could be. Yeah,
Sending signals back like, hey, be ready. This is coming. This is us from the future.
It's like the universe version of the Spider-Man meme. We see these people like, oh, you, hey, we're the same.
I asked my wife how often she thinks about death in a day. And she said, I don't think I think about death more than twice in a year. And she goes, what about you? And I go, I don't want to answer that question.
Next question.
I think about this, though, with space.
Yeah.
All the time. There was a floating orb that looked like a giant pile of poo. It flew right past our Earth, had actual radio signals coming from it, was not man-made.
We didn't grab it? We didn't snatch it? Just kept going?
And we just let it fly right by, and we're just like, that wasn't a space rock.
Where were our people with like a big net to catch that thing? We needed a net gun, grab that bad boy, bring it down, let's study
the
it.
Armageddon ship up there.
Yes.
Let's go, baby.
Could be some energy on there that we don't know about yet that's going to totally revolutionize everything.
What were people saying on the Adam Silver, we need to change our league and we need to cut it down to 10-minute quarters?
I think similar to kind of what Schultz was arguing, one of the main complaints is like, it's just the only time of NBA games that sucks is the end of games. The
Reviews,
end of games,
timeouts,
reviews, timeouts, was that a foul? Was this like, that's what takes way too long. And I agree with that take. And then the other one, I think is a valid point. And this is funny because Silver talked a little bit about this last week. And I saved it in my notes, so I won't get to it at some point when football season's done, but we're doing this conversation now. And he was asked about the three-pointers and the analytics, and are they looking at rule changes? And he took a very cautious approach to that answer of like, we're not going to rush into anything. But I think that's the main complaint that you get from people. It's not the overall time of the quarter. It's the amount of fouls that are called throughout the course of a game that slow it down. Like, that's the main culprit. They're not going to get rid of commercials because you have to generate revenue and they got to make money somehow. So that's just a non-starter argument, although I see a lot of that from fans. To me, it's more about the number of whistles, the number of reviews. Like, how often when you're watching an NBA game, do they go check something on the monitor of, is that a flagrant two? And it's like, he was going for the ball. His hand hit his head. Like, why are we review? Give him a foul and let's move on. Why is this taking 3 minutes to review if it's a flagrant or not? There's little stuff like that I think if you cleaned up, you would get the desired outcome that Adam Silver's looking for.
So this is, sometimes I point to this, and I totally get feelings are hard to beat. And facts don't always.
Don't give me facts. I just went on a good rant. I don't want facts. Get them out of here.
I think you're making very fair points. Schultz has gone on some rants about basketball, and I've countered with like field goal percentage. Like the 90s are the best. It's like they shot less percentage. They missed more. But it's. I don't know if it's the age in which we watch things, the moments in our lives. There's nostalgia that hits, and nostalgia is hard to beat with facts. I just looked this up at StatMuse. In the 60s, they averaged 26.1 personal fouls a game.
Mm-hmm.
In the 70s, it was 24.5. In the 80s, it was 24.9. In the 90s, it was 22.7. In the 2000s, it was 22. In the 2010s, it was 20.3. And in the 2020s, it's 19.6.
Not enough. Let's get that down to 15. Now we're talking.
But that's kind of my point. That there's less fouls now.
Right.
And it's only a few, but there's on average less fouls.
Sure.
I think it's just.
I think the counter to that would be back in the day when you had some of those fouls, you weren't reviewing things.
Well,
and I'm all for
getting
calls right, and I understand
Do you want to
the
get
desire.
rid of the review process?
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Just go back to the old school, like which call.
Where the ball go off? Do I need to see that it would nicked off that finger at the very end? Like, that's their ball. Give them the ball. I know that'll never happen. They're not going to go back on that. But
Sure.
that would be the only counter. Like the foul total, that's a great stat to point out. But we didn't have reviews back then. And the review process, sometimes when I'm watching games, I'm like, can we just... What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's not a flagrant. That's not this. I get, coach's challenge. Now we got multiple throughout the course of a game, so now we got to blow the wood. We did that in the start of the second half, I think it was, in Milwaukee, Portland the other night. Milwaukee used a challenge like 1 minute into the start of the third quarter. I'm like, all right, second half just started, and let's pause for 4 minutes while we review this. And then Chauncey used his challenge like 90 seconds after that.
Yeah.
So it was like the first 3 minutes of the third quarter took maybe 10 minutes to take place because we were reviewing foul calls on two different guys.
It's just very interesting. I don't think he should be reacting like this as the commissioners. My 2 cents, like, it's okay to look at stuff. And I know he's setting this up in the sense of like, yeah, we're looking at everything. 10-minute quarters, for example. Talk about that. I don't think you need to talk about how great the game is.
Yeah, we're doing good.
How about OKC? Look at that.
Look at this awesome story. Cleveland and the record that they have.
The Houston Rockets.
Out of
Everybody wants
nowhere.
them to trade people and go get a veteran, but I don't think they need to. They're second in the West right now. How about the Knicks being relevant? That's great, isn't it? Is Boston going to defend their crown? I don't know. Dame Giannis, are they going to make a trade, or is that team going to win? Don't ask me about Jimmy Butler, though.
No, I don't want to talk about Jimmy Butler. If we went to 10-minute quarters, how many minutes a game would Scoot, Shaden, and Klingon get? Whew.
20?
To me, we get
Donovan
12
would be
minutes a
down to
game,
like
maybe.
8. Be like,
they
yeah, we
averaging?
can
Development
manage
for
10.
them would take another 5 years based on the minutes per game they're getting right now.
I'm kind of
It'd be
sick
disastrous.
I'm sick of hearing that kids out of college can't play. I know that they're not going to
Let's
play
go,
82
Corn Pop.
games,
Let 'em
but they
cook.
can't play 25 minutes a game. That this 7-footer literally doesn't have the body to play 25 minutes a game.
You know what I hate in college?
Is he more delicate than Greg freaking Oden? What are we doing?
The thing I hate about college hoops is similar to what people are saying about the end of basketball games. End of college games, like NC State Duke the other night.
Yeah.
Good game. Game's kind of a little out of hand, but NC State cut it to like 7.
That was relevant till the end.
I hate the make and the team that just makes it, then calling a timeout.
Yeah, why is that allowed?
I hate that.
You don't have possession of the ball.
You gave it up. You made the shot. Good job. Now get back.
That's a valid
Why does
argument.
college
I hate
basketball allow that?
I don't know. College basketball feels like they have too many timeouts.
They do. I mean, look, everybody, like, football does this. When football does the extra point,
Commercial
kickoff commercial, or like when you get that sequence, it's like
2-minute warning
Or
commercial
what
back.
are we doing?
And also at the end of
This is
college basketball
insanity.
games, specifically because you never quit, right? You're down by 8 with like 20 seconds left, and you're still fouling. You're still fouling with 12 seconds left. You're down by near double digits. Like, coach, put it away. Let's end
game's
this
over.
freaking
Reggie
game.
Miller, Corn Pop, Reggie Miller.
God, shut up. What am I supposed to like?
Happened one time in a
Yeah.
basketball game, and
Yeah,
now
'cause
everybody
he
will
scored
foul.
a lot of
told you
points.
shut
Didn't
up.
Didn't Dame score like 6 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that, or like a second or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's 6 points in 1 second.
1 second.
Like
Thank you.
2 games ago.
He did, yeah.
He hit a 3. They got an offensive rebound. He got the shot. He shot it.
And that doesn't happen
Boom, boom.
very often, right?
No.
Everybody thinks it's
Why'd you tell me
gonna.
to shut up?
Yeah,
Coach
you
is
shut
like-
up over there.
All right, I'll shut up.
God, you're an idiot.
Hey, how good is this guy going to get? And Sam Brookhouse joining us live from Mobile, Alabama. Dirt and Sprague back with more on The Fan.
Slam This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Sam Brookhouse is going to join us live from Mobile, Alabama. Senior Bowl. Little peekaboo for the NFL draft. Who's standing out? Josh Connerly. I've seen good reviews. I've seen him get just bull rushed down by a random defensive prospect.
Yeah, he got trucked in a highlight yesterday.
I feel bad for most of these players, whether you liked them in college or not. Like, these are the best players of that level, all auditioning for their dream. And some of them, like, I know, again, he's brought some of this on himself. Shiloh Sanders had a little bit of this. There's a video montage of him just getting cooked at the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, the dude's out there just working hard, trying to make it. We're just out here on the internet.
This guy sucks. This guy's terrible.
But then, he's got the whole, I'm going to kick your coach's ass, and then you're pissing
Yeah,
blood
you talk a little less along the way. Breaking news, Josh Connerly will still be a top 15 pick. I know that highlight is not encouraging, but I have a feeling they're going to lean on a body of work for an entire year, more so than one highlight of a guy from Marshall who was a very good pass rusher, mind you.
Terrible thing what happened in D.C. last night. I don't know if people saw that. There was
my God.
Black Hawk helicopter colliding with an airline that was seconds away from safely landing.
How
60
scary
passengers.
that in 2025 we're still having airlines collide. And I know it was at night, and if you've seen the video, the Black Hawk helicopter didn't even look visible. So
yeah, you barely see the you just see the little
that is
explosion
just so scary.
collision.
I am an aviation nut, and it is just
That's right. I forgot you are an aviation nut.
Just knowing that every single crash that we've had to this point has gotten us, much safer skies, and the chances of us dying in an airplane are far, far greater than, far less, than like dying in a car, for instance. You have
it's
a
not
much
even
greater
close,
chance, of getting in your car and getting into a crash and dying than you do going onto an airplane statistically. But these kinds of things just freak everybody out. And I honestly, you don't know what happened, but from my past experience, somebody didn't see something, and hearing some of the air traffic control messages to each other and the pilots, it just sounds like somebody was not aware of the other, or both weren't aware of the other.
16 years since the last one of these to happen to a major airline.
To a major airline, yeah. There's been
American
casualties
Airlines,
with
right?
individuals and that kind of stuff.
We had
2009 was the last big
just
one.
like last year.
Yeah, this feels like a time where, how many close calls have we had over the last couple of years? How many times has there been a video that came out of, Gonzaga basketball just had this. We didn't talk about it on the show.
We didn't.
They nearly collided on the runway when they were getting ready to take off.
They would have perished.
Their whole team would be gone.
Massive plane, and they were in their little private PJ.
How many times have we seen these videos of damn, that was a close call to maybe we should have, done something about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And instead it's oh, wow, that's a crazy video. All right, scroll on to the next one. What else is happening? And then you get this. I mean, major things will come from this, but to Schultz's point, it's 2025. It's inexcusable that stuff like this happens.
Oh, the worst is the internet then just starts throwing out straight lies and ideas of hey, there's 7 people still alive in the river. It's
no,
there's no credible report. This is somebody on the internet saying that. It's I mean, we saw the video. It's really awful. I was going to ask you how good Tamani Kamara's going to what is his ceiling? I was going to ask you that. Now it feels kind of weird to ask you that question.
Doesn't seem like it's quite as serious a topic in the aftermath
From playing
of the
grass
news.
to Tamani Kamara.
Is he going to be?
What a transition. We can hold it.
I mean, I can give you a thought. You want me to give you a thought, or you want to hold it?
Well, I just, Denny's good. We knew Denny would be good.
Yeah, Denny had a really good year in Washington last year.
But Tamani is the best thing that they've gotten out of all this so far.
Yes.
Of the rebuild.
Yes.
And he's been stellar. He's deserving of being in this Rising Stars game that he didn't get invited to. He's looks like an all-NBA defensive guy. His three-point shot has gotten better this year. He had a perfect night the other day.
Yeah, 5 for 5.
It's just something to kind of ponder of what is the ceiling here? Because you hear a lot of Wes Matthews. He could be our next Wes Matthews. Could he be better? He's bigger than Wes Matthews. He's longer than Wes Matthews.
I would say he's a better defender than Wes Matthews. I don't know if he's a better scorer than Wes Matthews.
Well, I'm just saying, Meringue told me that he's working now with Dame's guy, Beckner. Is there any element of his offensive game that changes? It's something to kind of noodle on is how much better can that guy get? Denny, I think this is just Denny. And that's not meant as a knock. Denny's good.
Yeah.
But I don't see Denny Avdia really getting better than this, even though he's still young himself. This is Denny Avdia. 20-some points, 7 assists, 6 boards. he's capable of that kind of stuff. I don't think that's going to change. I am fascinated to know or think about what Tumani Kamara is. So it's just something to kind of ponder over, maybe something we could do tomorrow or, after the Super Bowl, whatever, as he's having a great year.
I think the encouraging thing is that on one side of the ball, he's already arguably the best that you've had in a generation. Like, he's that good defensively.
I think he's worthy, yes.
Like, he's in that
absolutely.
conversation, and that's not going to go anywhere.
No.
So the only question about his upside is what can he add to his offensive game, and can he become a more reliable scorer? He's averaging 10 points per game this year. He's shooting just shy of 35% from three. He's had nights where he's been outstanding, where he's had bigger offensive outputs than that, but as an average of over 45 games, 10 points per game is not nothing, but it's not an offensive game that scares you. But he's only in his second year in the NBA. And so can you get to a 15-point per game kind of guy? 16, 3-and-D? Can you shoot 37, 38% from three? That, to me, would be, if you could get to that clip offensively and then combine it with what you're doing defensively, then you're on to something serious.
Really quickly, I just don't see him being like Wes. I see him more like a Nick Batum. Like, he'll show up, he'll give you 15, but he's going to fill the stat sheet every night.
Oh, he's a better defender than Nick.
I agree with you, but Nick was able to affect the game every single night in some way, and I do feel like that's what Tumani Kamara can do, even when he's not scoring.
Let's go to Mobile, Alabama. The Senior Bowl is going on right now. All the prospects, you got some Ducks over there. I also want to talk about, could there be another surprise Oregon quarterback in this NFL draft? We'll talk with Sam Brookhouse of Sumer Sports, top of the hour, Dirt and Sprague Hour 2 on The Fan.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new
Update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, news out of the NFL as the New York Jets hiring Steve Wilks to be their next defensive coordinator under new head coach Aaron Glenn. Wilks did take 2024 off after being fired as the 49ers defensive coordinator following their loss to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. And on the hardwood, the Portland Trailblazers back at it tonight for Game 3 of a 7-game homestand, hosting the Orlando Magic. Jeremy Grant listed as questionable with a sore ankle, and despite Portland's recent success, Orlando a 5.5-point favorite as the roadie. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Slam Dunk in Vegas is our nationwide contest for a chance to have the ultimate tournament viewing experience with 3 of your friends. More info at 1080thefan.com. This is Dirt and Sprague.
How does a tiger get in the bathroom? It almost killed me.
Hey, bro, you mind putting on some pants? I find it a little weird I have to ask twice.
Pants at a time like this, I don't have any.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Hey, is it a little too early for being that loud? Hey, too late. It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh, my God, it's early.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Okay, I'm gonna get on that. Just give me a minute.
Joyce is very upset.
Flo, we've discussed this. Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. Coffee and contemplation.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here. Nice little Thursday morning. 7:02 in the Rose City. Good morning. If you miss hour 1, you can catch the podcast at 1080thefan.com, and you can reach the show at the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326.
Boom.
They treat you right before, during, and after sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. Kicking off the second hour of the show. Don't always have a guest at the top of the second hour, but when you can go to Mobile, Alabama to talk about the Senior Bowl, you must go to Mobile, Alabama. Sam Brookhouse, our guest here. Sumer Sports on Twitter at Brookhouse Sports. You can find his content at Sumer Sports, joining us live. Sam, good morning. Thanks for hopping on with us out here in Portland, Oregon, USA. The Senior Bowl for you, how much of it is just about prospects and seeing these guys' skill and ability versus the networking and talking to the scouts and personnel of NFL teams?
So it's a good blend. You know, I come from the analytics side, the data science side, so I try to overlook, some of the big one plays that happen and try to see some consistency. But I'm really trying to get information on things that I'm trying to know more. I'm trying to network with some of the scouts that I know, get their thoughts, understand how the teams are going to approach this draft, while also trying to pick up on the guys, particularly from the small schools, that are able to be consistent against some of the better talent in this draft class.
So there's a lot of players we could debate and positions to talk about. What is maybe something you've heard the most that's collectively, it's coming from different people, but it's kind of the same theme or takeaway so far from some NFL people?
I think the theme right now is that this is a clear two-tiered system here with the quarterback position in this draft. I think that people really like Shador Sanders and Cam Ward, and you can expect them to go very highly in the first round, particularly coming out of the Shrine Bowl, where the reports were that the top teams told Shador Sanders to not practice. I think that's going to be the case. Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe, quarterbacks 3 and 4, they're fighting to get into the first round, and they're fighting to lock up the next quarterback taken. It's been a rough outing for them through day 1 and day 2. A lot of balls on the ground, not great chemistry with the wide receivers yet. I want to see if they can clean that up later in the week.
Interesting. I wanted to ask you about a guy here locally who's at the Senior Bowl and in that position, and Dylan Gabriel. He's an interesting fit, an undersized guy, but he's incredibly accurate. He's played a ton of football, so he's, very experienced. Numbers coming out that he broke the record for miles per hour throw, and that made us all kind of turn our head like, wait, what? He can throw faster than Joe Milton and Josh Allen. That doesn't make any sense. What are you hearing? What's standing on about him, and where does he fit into that quarterback hierarchy?
So out of all of the quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl right now, Dylan Gabriel is the standout because he's able to find completions with this wide receiver group that for the most part is new. Now, he does have the benefit of throwing to Tez Johnson and Terrence Ferguson, who he's been with all year. But at the same time, he's been able to find completion after completion, particularly in the on-air periods like 7-on-7 or 1-on-1s that other quarterbacks just haven't been able to find. A thing to watch from him, though, is he has struggled a little bit when going under center. this is something that's pretty easy to clean up, but given his size, maybe something to watch moving forward. Fumbled several snaps on day one, cleaned it a little bit up, but still fumbled a snap on day two. I want to see how he continues to progress working with his offensive line.
This is Sam Brookhouse of Sumer Sports, analytical-based sports website, but they do great content. He's over there in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. On Dillon Gabriel, I find him interesting. The amount of years and experience he had in college football. We went into last year's draft, and I know that class thought of more highly at that position than this year's class with, whoever you want to debate of Shador, Cam Ward, Milton or whoever, or Milroe,
yes.
Milroe. But I am curious, Gabriel's size, obviously you mentioned the under center stuff. How much is the NFL, though, changing the way they evaluate the age of players, given what NIL is doing, how these guys can make just as much to come back for one more year of college football? How much has changed in just maybe a year of the viewpoint of the NFL with guys that are coming out at slightly older ages than maybe before, given how much money they can make at college?
Yeah, if you want to get a sense at how college has progressed, I played against Dillon Gabriel twice, and I'm sitting here talking on the phone to you. So that's kind of how it goes. But I think it allows players to truly develop. We saw Jaden Daniels, who was in a pretty hectic situation last year at Arizona State, moves on to LSU, able to have 2 quality years of growth and ends up being a good quarterback to the next level. Dillon Gabriel, really, again, I played against him, has been a great player since his days at UCF. I think he just showed that he was able to be successful and be a Heisman candidate against better and better talent, starting in the Big 12, then going to the Big 10. I think just the film and the ability to develop and the ability to show more does allow teams to get a sense. I think the only knock against them and why teams may want to draft younger guys, as they did last year with Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, is just so that you can get NFL coaching a little bit earlier. I think it's becoming less of a thing, honestly, just because they understand that at the college level, these players can develop a little bit more.
Yeah, it's really the way Bo played last year, too, in his rookie year, first year in the NFL. I'm sure helped that cause a little bit, too. You mentioned Gabriel being able to throw to a couple of guys that he's familiar with. Tez Johnson is a fascinating prospect to me. We know how good he was at Oregon. At times he felt unguardable, and then I see I think he weighed in at the Senior Bowl like 150 pounds, and I would ask him, did he have like rocks in his shoes or something? Because he didn't even look like he's 150 pounds. The dude is tiny. Highlights are all over the internet of what he's doing to defenders. What do you make of him, the way he's standing out, and how does he fit in the NFL with that size and weight maybe being a concern?
Yeah, talking about our process at the top of the show, he was a guy who popped up on our AI metrics, which track every single player on every single play and compare it to all the past plays that we have in the database. He knocks him out of the park. He's creating a lot of separation and yards after the catch, is what you want to see from an NFL wide receiver. The size was something we wanted to get a feel for, particularly as he was facing guys who would be pressing him in one-on-one situations. He's been able to win those matchups. If you want to comp for size, a guy like Tank Dell from the Houston Texans also played at Houston as a Cougar. He's of a similar size. I think we're going to have to see him continue to do that at the Senior Bowl in order to be highly drafted. But I've really liked what I've seen. He's been able to create separation. And what I've really loved is he's been able to change his tempo really well. A lot of times with these smaller guys, they're just speed guys. We've kind of seen that with Xavier Worthy a little bit more. This year, Tez has been able to change his tempo, play through contact, and create separation that way as well.
Sam Brookhouse, Sumer Sports, is our guest here live from the Senior Bowl. I want to ask you about Josh Connerly and how he stacks up with offensive lineman prospects. We know he's in this conversation, but you got Banks from Texas, Campbell from LSU. It might be the best one. Where do you think Josh Connerly is in the eyes of many of these NFL scouts?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the biggest story coming out of the Senior Bowl right now is Mike Green had an excellent play where he kind of blew up Josh Connerly. However, coming from the analytics perspective, I don't really take a lot of stock in that. I don't take a lot of stock in the big videos coming out because that's only one play. Connerly has been a consistent player, and he's been able to win matchups on the field despite being, in a weird one-on-one situation at the Senior Bowl and getting caught on a clippable clip. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he projects out to be, a player that can develop into a good NFL tackle.
How many guys, and this is kind of, an open-ended question, so I'm sorry for throwing it at you. I'm just curious, are there 2 or 3 guys that have just, whether they be from small schools or names that we don't know, or maybe names that we know that we follow that have just damn, that guy has absolutely popped and helped his draft stock a ton going into April?
Yeah, here's a guy that you may not know. That's Gray Zabel, out of North Dakota State. He's an offensive lineman coming from a smaller school, but a school that has a pretty good pedigree of creating NFL talent. He's popped out as a guy who can consistently win day over day, rep over rep, person over person, and he's facing some pretty good defensive linemen out here at the Senior Bowl. He's someone that I feel like, just based off of what I've seen and based off what I understand that he did at the FCS level, he may be someone who can contribute very quickly to a team in the upcoming NFL draft.
I know the combine is the end-all, be-all. Everybody gets excited. They get to go to steakhouses, drink cocktails, share gossip, and watch guys in underwear bench press. So I understand you're getting the full scale of kind of everybody involved with the draft process, and the Senior Bowl doesn't quite have that. How, though, has Jim Nagy in the Senior Bowl? This never used to be a thing people talked about. I never really ever heard about the Senior Bowl, and it just feels like over a handful of years, Sam, this thing is kind of blown up, and they're actually playing football. They're in their gear. They're hitting each other. They're throwing. They're running routes. Like, how much evaluating the difference is with this versus what you get at the combine, where so many guys will just opt out of running, opt out of throwing. And I know, again, clear cut with the age and gap of who's here and who's not, but how big the Senior Bowl has become as just an event for scouts to evaluate prospects.
Yeah, I think you can only get so much out of the combine. There's a great piece on sumersports.com where we actually break down for quarterbacks and running backs what the correlation between the combine metrics and the actual production on the field. It's pretty limited. What I think people like here is the ability to interview players and the ability in particular to see these small school guys who are rated very highly by draft analysts go up against top talent. You think of some of the names that we have here that have popped off. I mentioned the Josh Connerly clip. That was Mike Green from Marshall. Not a big school. Gray Zabel, I just mentioned, another guy from a small school. We have guys from Canadian colleges playing out here who have draft profiles. I think it's just the idea that, number one, you get to see small school people compete against big school people and big school people compete against the best of the best. And then secondarily, you get to see how these players take coaching. You know, in the NFL, practice time is very limited. You got to be able to pick up game plans in a day or 2 days max. That's the same way it is at the Senior Bowl, and I think that's the great value of these games.
Interesting. One last local guy I wanted to ask you about. I've seen a couple of nice highlights from him, and he had moments where he was great, moments where maybe he dealt with drops at Oregon. Where does Terrence Ferguson fit into that tight end picture for you in this draft?
You know, this is a fantastic tight end class. I thought Terrence Ferguson has shown a little bit of an ability to block, which I was excited about. You know, you try to grade what these guys can do instead of what guys can't do, because great coaches will either develop them to be able to do the things they can or they'll coach around it, you know. And I think Terrence Ferguson was a guy that I'm looking to see a little bit more from in coming days, but I've liked what I've seen, particularly with his route running.
Get you out of here on this one, Sam, because it's been good stuff, and we appreciate you hopping on with us. Your top three quarterbacks, doesn't matter who gets drafted first, your top three quarterbacks in this class are who and in what order?
This is a tough one, and last year I had a lot stronger thoughts on it just because I think the quality was better last year.
Well, who were your three last year? Who were your three last year, real quick?
Yeah, so last year I loved Jaden, number one. I thought Caleb was probably the guy who had the highest ceiling, so I understood if teams wanted to pick him first. He's a younger guy, and he was able to win the Heisman, but I really like Jaden's ability to create with his legs. I like Caleb after that. And then I really like J.J. McCarthy, who we haven't been able to get a view on. But this year, I think the way it breaks down is I think it's, again, the two-tier system. At the very top, I think it's Cam Ward. I think he has shown that he can do the most, particularly progressing on to the NFL. Shador Sanders, I think I like second. Extremely accurate. Number one in our completion percentage over expected metric, which looks at, you know, every second of every play and figures out what would an average person complete here. He did really well at that at Colorado in a pretty bad situation, at least last year. And then finally, it's a tough one. I like Jalen Milroe. I think he can create with his legs. I haven't liked what I've seen from him at the Senior Bowl. I think he's probably third right now, but guys like Riley Leonard and Kyle McCord have really caught my eye as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they jump up after I more deeply review their film after getting a look at them at the Shrine and Senior Bowls.
Well, we'll have to catch up with you down the road because this is good stuff from Mobile, Alabama. Sam Brookhouse, our guest from Sumer Sports. You can find him on Twitter at Brookhouse Sports. Give him a follow on social media, giving us the updates on all the Oregon players and kind of the buzz at the Senior Bowl. Thanks so much, Sam, for hopping on. We appreciate it. Good stuff, my man.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right, there we go. Good stuff from Sam Brookhouse. Let's carry something over. Dylan Gabriel as an NFL quarterback, what we think of that as a prospect. We'll get to that coming up next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd.
This is the nuance of great coaching. You telegraphed your 2-point conversion stuff early. You showed them this is the stuff we think works against you instead of holding it like a great poker player. And both Andy Reid and Spags saved their most unique calls, Spags' corner blitz and Andy the P-Rine route.
The original home of The Herd with Colin Cowherd. The original. Weekdays 9 to noon, 1080 The Fan.
Now, here's a quick look at Portland traffic.
Sluggish traffic conditions, Vancouver to Portland, southbound I-5 from SR 500 over the Interstate Bridge on down to Killingsworth Street. Eastbound Highway 26, you're slowing down here from 217 to the Vista Ridge Tunnel.
This traffic report brought to you by
SmartLine Home Design. Builders, SmartLine Home Design is here to boost your business. Our 3D tech brings unmatched precision and efficiency. Get it right the first time with streamlined designs and error-free construction documents. A trusted local architectural design studio. Visit smartlinehomedesign.com.
the best
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. 7:20 on 1080 The Fan. Speaking of which, how about this? Download the free Odyssey app, log in and listen to The Fan, or any station for that matter, each day for a minimum of 1 hour for your daily entry into the Slam Dunk in Vegas contest. The winner of this national contest will receive travel and accommodation for 4 to Las Vegas, Nevada, $20K in spending, $5,000 each, ultimate viewing experience, first 2 rounds of the NCAAs. And you come back each day and listen for another hour to add another chance to win. Keep listening for more. Find it at 1080thefan.com.
20K, 4 buddies, Vegas. Are you kidding me? The debauchery that would ensue.
I've like noodled in my brain of how I would spend $5K.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you let it last for an entire vacation, or would you blow it in a night?
I would probably let it. Well, I think some people would contemplate just not spending it.
Just holding on to the 5K?
I don't know if that's allowed.
In Vegas, I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I would absolutely take 1,000 of that and bet it on red.
You go red roulette?
I go red roulette, or I think about the sports stuff and I just...
Well, it's for the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, so
I go to the
pick
book
your games.
and I load out $1,000 of just bets, and I'm sitting there not knowing about anything of these schools, hoping I'm right, and then I'm absolutely golfing.
Of all the times to go to
Definitely
Vegas, and the whole tournament it's up there. It's one of the best times to go.
It is. I wouldn't know that, but I agree with you.
I've been to Vegas once for the opening 2 days, and oh boy, is it a scene, man.
My brother-in-law goes just about every year. His birthday's around that time, and he's there almost what feels like every year, and I'm always jealous.
Fan bases from all over the country flock. You get random fans from random teams. You're in the same bar or the same sports book of like Kansas fans and North Texas fans, and they're playing each other in the first round. It's a hell of a thing.
Good stuff from Sam Brookhouse of SumerSports.com, live from Mobile for the Reese's Senior Bowl. Jim Nagy's done a great job of building that thing up, man.
Yeah, well, I think to your point, it was a great question at the end about just the difference in evaluating these guys at a setting like this as opposed to the Combine. I think this is probably a bigger deal for some, to his point, the smaller school guys. So like, hey, the kid from Marshall who trucked Josh Connerly yesterday, that's a clip that's going to go viral, and everybody's going to talk about it. Now people kind of know that name. Like, that's a huge opportunity that you don't really get at the Combine. That's just wearing spandex and running around.
Well, and look, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about Brian Green of Marshall. I think we watched that clip after our show, and I went, I think this kid's from Marshall?
Yeah.
Didn't know much about him, to be honest.
We are Marshall.
But I would rather fall slightly in love with the prospect in full pads, doing it to another top-tier prospect in full pads.
Without a doubt.
Than Zach Wilson rolling out in shorts.
Throwing a ball a long ways.
Against
no pass rush.
To his own receiver.
In a dome-controlled environment.
Yeah, I think I'd rather lean that way.
I think so, too.
It's more of an example. I asked him about Dylan Gabriel, and here was Sam Brookhouse's answer on Dylan Gabriel's prospects as an NFL quarterback and how he's performing at the Senior Bowl so far.
So out of all of the quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl right now, Dylan Gabriel is the standout because he's able to find completions with this wide receiver group that for the most part is new. Now, he does have the benefit of throwing to Tez Johnson and Terrence Ferguson, who he's been with all year. But at the same time, he's been able to find completion after completion, particularly in the on-air periods like 7-on-7 or 1-on-1s that other quarterbacks just haven't been able to find. A thing to watch from him, though, is he has struggled a little bit when going under center. This is something that's pretty easy to clean up, but given his size, maybe something to watch moving forward. Fumbled several snaps on day one, cleaned it a little bit up, but still fumbled a snap on day two. I want to see how he continues to progress working with his offensive line.
So how about that? He's had a little bit of the fumble-itis go on. He struggles a little bit under center, which I don't know if that's shocking given his size and just how often he was in shotgun.
He was very rarely an under center quarterback in college.
Quick counter, quick.
Yes.
And then I'll let you go. How many NFL quarterbacks really get under center anymore?
See,
I don't know how common that. I'd have to go see a percentage. I'm just, in my brain, I'm seeing a ton of the younger players and even some of the not under center. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem to be as often in the NFL. But standing out the most of all the prospects so far, finding completions What's your read on Dylan Gabriel? Your thoughts as an NFL quarterback?
Yeah, I would actually. I think being able to play under center is vitally important. Maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy.
You might be right.
But
yeah.
to your point, we just had the stat. Was it in the wild card round of the playoffs that Jalen Hurts completed the first pass of his career that was an under center straight drop back throw, not a play action set. So, and he's been in the league for 5 years now, 4 years, whatever it is.
Play action handoffs, yes, you get under center from time to time, but even now they're still in shotgun handing it off.
They absolutely are. I just think the things that you could do, the multiple looks that you can give as an offense under center off of play action are exponentially greater under center as opposed to being in shotgun when it's just a little more difficult to fool the defense in what you're trying to do. Look, I love Dylan Gabriel. He was a gamer. He had an unbelievable year this year for Oregon, won a lot of big games, was clutch in a lot of big moments. I think he's incredibly accurate. He has had a ton of reps and a ton of experience. So if you want to go down that road, that ended up being pretty important for guys like Daniels and Bo Nix in their first year when we had to have this whole debate of are they too old to take in the first round? And I don't think Denver or Washington feels bad about the quarterback that they took.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately can't get over one thing and one thing only with him.
The Ohio State game?
That was not pretty or fun to go through.
That's going to be the NFL every week.
It will be. No, it's just, and I hate to do this because I am similar sized. It's the size thing. I can't get over the fact that he is. I saw him warm up for games.
How tall did he look to you?
He's listed at 5'11".
What are you officially? Five?
I mean, am I wearing shoes?
Are you 5'6"?
Hey.
You're taller than Corn Pop.
I'm 5'8". 5'9" on a good
He's
day.
not taller than me.
I'm taller than you, Corn Pop.
What? Corn
I
Pop,
can
get in
take you,
here.
Corn Pop.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to
back to back.
Get in here,
back
Corn
to back
Pop.
right
Let's do
now.
this right now.
YouTube
back to back. I
feed
want to see it.
can prove it.
YouTube is going to be
Get
the
your
judge
ass
of this.
in
Who's
here.
taller, Corn Pop or
How
Dirt?
dare you 5'6" me?
Now, P.
You
Harris is the
bastard.
shortest person at the station that does anything on air with us. But I want to see of the more
Who's
day-to-day, who is taller? Is it Corn Pop
If I was
or
over
is it
6'1",
Dirt?
I would have gone D1, damn it.
Oh, I think we got some nervousness. Oh,
I think I got it.
Dirt's
Come
got
here. Back
you.
to back.
Wait a minute.
Back to
Wait
back.
a minute.
Who's got it?
Dirt's got it.
Thank you.
You're
5'6" then.
Thank you.
Well, I was giving him. I like to give him
that's-
crap.
come on,
Yeah, I like to
5'6"
give him-
is just.
I like to give him-
5'6" is just
Hey, Corn
disrespectful.
Pop, thank you for playing.
Thank
I
you.
actually appreciate
We
that.
love you, Schultz. You're the
We
best.
do love Schultz.
So, that's the only thing. If you're telling me I got a.
How tall did he look to you? Sorry? Not much taller?
He's listed at 5'11".
Yeah.
Bit
So
of a
maybe
stretch.
like 5'10".
I was listed at 5'10" in the program in my high
Yeah,
school.
what are you
year.
like 5'9", 5'10" on a
I
good
mean, I'm
day?
5'9", probably.
Okay.
It would be my
you
guess.
and I are
you know.
negligible difference in
Yeah.
height. It's
You
not
got more
that
hair than I
far
do,
away.
too.
Your
I just-
hair's a little taller, gives
I
you a
just trimmed
shot,
up.
so he's probably a half or quarter inch taller than you, Corn Pop, is what I would say.
I would say Dylan Gabriel is got the same eye level as Dirt or I.
Yes, he is a very small individual.
That's me and Dame. I can look at Dame straight in the eyes, and he's probably got me by an inch, but I'm like eye level with him.
Well, and you jokingly bring up the Ohio State game, which will be a thing that scouts probably look at and kind of pick apart a little bit for his NFL draft evaluation. But I thought it highlighted one of the weaknesses of a undersized quarterback, and that was the Ohio State defensive line did a great job just kind of collapsing the pocket around him, not allowing him the ability to move around and extend plays. And when you're able to trap him in the pocket at 5, quote unquote 11, which probably 5'9", he just can't. You can't see the field. There's too many trees. The guys are too big. You got 6'5" tackles that are blocking for you. These big defensive linemen, and you're limited in what you can accomplish because you can't throw over the top of those guys. And then you'd had Caleb Downs in the middle of the field that took away the middle of the field, and it was a kryptonite. He wasn't the only reason they lost that game or got embarrassed or blown out. Obviously, that was a team-wide thing, but I did think it highlighted one of the biggest weakness of him. And it's unfortunate, dude. We did this with Bryce Young, and I feel terrible. Like if Dylan Gabriel was 6'3", he'd be lock for a top 5 pick.
Oh yeah, his
like not even a
his
doubt.
arm, his IQ,
competitiveness,
yes.
The way he leads a locker room, like all the things are pluses, and then you just like, can you do it? Undersized quarterbacks in the NFL, man, they
largely don't.
They don't work. Kyler Murray is one of the best athletes on the planet, and he struggles from time to time.
Middling quarterback.
Bryce Young finally had his moment, but are we there of saying like, yeah, this is a guy you build a franchise around?
Right.
I don't know. So he's not quite to that level of athleticism, and he wasn't as good as Bryce Young in college. And so you got a 4th-round pick, you want to take a flyer? All right. Like jokingly, he's been compared to Tua a lot. If I'm Miami and I have a 4th-round pick and I'm like, yeah, that guy's banged up a lot because he's a lefty, bring in another lefty. All right, maybe I take a flyer on him, but I wouldn't draft him much higher than that.
Backup guy?
Backup guy.
Yeah.
Would be my. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love for him to be great in the NFL.
It's hard to see it though, right?
Dude,
I mean,
5'9", 5'10" as an NFL quarterback, like.
Yeah, and look, I've
That's
never
tough.
meant to be mean-spirited towards Bryce Young when we talk and give these opinions, but I just, like, if I'm a Panthers fan, I don't want my team building around a 5'10 quarterback.
Yeah.
If he's 5'10.
Yes.
He stood next to Mina Kimes, was barely taller than her. And I don't know how tall Mina Kimes is.
Not very tall.
But I'm guessing about as tall as dirt, if at most.
So 5'11". That we're going with.
You know, it's not easy to stand there and do the height thing live on the YouTubes.
People are saying they couldn't see. Evidently, they couldn't see. It was just off a camera shot. Our apologies.
I should have done the
You know what you
wide
guys
shot,
should have
my
done? I
bad.
should have had you, because I can see it now at the corner of my eye. I should have had you back up closer to the door.
Yeah, I should have moved around a little bit. That's our fault.
Take
Take our word for it.
If Corn Pop was taller, I'd have given it to Corn Pop.
Yeah.
But you're
an unbiased judge over there.
I am.
You're not a Russian judge. You're an unbiased judge. 10 out of 10.
That is accurate. We'll see. It's good news for him, though. Get himself into the NFL.
Tez is the more interesting one to me, to be honest with you.
Of all of them?
Of all of them.
Jabbar, Terrence.
Like Jabbar, I think, is dealing with the
Tez.
same thing with his size being a major concern for him at the NFL level at corner. Terrence Ferguson is good. Terrence Ferguson could have an NFL career.
People were doing the Kelsey stuff at one point during
That
the
was
year.
Brock Heward. Let's not do people. Brock Heward did the
That's
Kelsey
a pretty
stuff.
big voice to be doing
It's a pretty big voice. I love me some Brock Heward.
I
I
do too.
think even Oregon fan was like, I don't know about that. Tez is the fascinating one. Like, I'd
Tank
be
Dell
willing to take a flyer on him.
If he's Tank Dell and not breaking his leg, yes.
Go look at, I mean, there's obviously some highlights get taken out of context. Now, he is shredding people at the Senior Bowl. You cannot guard him in one-on-one.
Dirty was their best receiver.
But
We
at
saw it.
150 pounds, he's got to have the Lockett career where you catch it, you fall down because you take one hit or one guy falls on you. You're like, that's not going to work out well for you. But he, in open space, man, is as dangerous and as explosive as we've seen in a long time.
Can Connerly, very quickly, and then we'll go. Connerly have a Sewell-like career? He's not mentioned the way Sewell was going into his draft, and I know Sewell's more right, but Connerly as a prospect, and I think they've actually had him both ends. They've had him left and right.
Yeah, switching him around maybe.
You got to see how versatile these guys are, too.
Totally.
You see it a lot more in the NFL now versus what we traditionally are accustomed to. Connerly in the NFL, do you think we like see an all-pro there?
I don't quite
or a
put him on the same
consistent guy?
pedestal. I see him as a really good tackle for a long time. I don't quite view him the way I viewed Penei Sewell coming out.
Maybe a Mekhi Becton. Maybe he does better his second team round.
Well, that was a position change, too,
Yeah,
for
it
him.
was.
He went
to
from
guard.
tackle to guard, and
Yeah.
he's just exploded, and that was a scrap heap pickup for the Eagles that worked out well for him.
Yeah.
I do chuckle at the one highlight that's going, I mean, you get one bad play, one bad rep, one guy showing you up, and it was an incredible pass rush, but it shouldn't take away from everything that Connerly's accomplished, and he will still be a top 15 pick.
I mean, part of that had to be Connerly looking at the helmet and going, Marshall guy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to
And
go
then
through
he,
that many
hits you
live
like,
reps.
Oh, my God. You shouldn't have been at Marshall. You should have been at LSU.
Dude came out of nowhere, man.
All right, good stuff from Sam Brookhouse. If you missed that interview, you can check it at 1080thefan.com. An hour from now, we'll be talking with Tyson Alger. The Ducks take on the UCLA Bruins. That's down in L.A., correct?
That is in L.A.
Yes, Rudy.
In Poly.
At Poly Pavilion. So
Big Ten foes,
a
baby.
Big Ten tilt, which I will say the conference realignment stuff has skewered the way I'm watching college basketball now.
Has it really?
Yeah, because if Stanford's playing somebody,
Virginia,
I don't want to watch at all. If they'd be in the conference, I'd check a couple minutes. I'd want to see what Stanford's dealing with. What
if
they
it was
got.
still the Pac-12, you would want to watch.
Yeah.
It hasn't really changed mine. I had the quad box of college hoops on yesterday, and there was a Maryland played Wisconsin, I want to say. And I think Maryland won. It's a pretty good game. It was in my top right of my quad box, and I'm like, I should care about this, but I didn't care about
Well,
this.
like UCLA, USC just played, and I didn't check in on a second of
Not
that
a
game.
second
So
of
I'm
it.
like,
well, it doesn't impact
I don't care about the Big
Oregon
Ten
State at
anymore.
all.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that way.
Yeah. Did you watch the Santa Clara game last night? They played St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I didn't see who won, but it was on my quad box before I turned my TV
I didn't
off.
watch college hoops.
Okay.
I'll be fully honest with you. I watched Nuggets, Knicks, and then we had practice, and I came home.
What the hell's the
and
matter
I had
with
Thunder
you?
Warriors.
You got to study up on the WCC, man.
You know what? When we get to the tourney, we're just
St.
gonna,
Mary's won 67-54.
We're just going to blindly pick teams we don't know about anyway.
They're 9-0 in conference play.
How about that? We'll talk with Tyson Alger an hour from now. Back with more. But first, Corn Pop Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, big news out of the NFL as the New York Jets hiring Steve Wilks to be their next defensive coordinator under new head coach Aaron Glenn. Wilks took the 2024 season off after being fired as the 49ers DC following their loss to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58, 59. Coming up with the Chiefs again, of course. Elsewhere, the Raiders have decided to retain coordinator Patrick Graham under new head coach Pete Carroll. He's been with the franchise since 2022 after being hired by Josh McDaniels to lead their defense. And on to the association, the Portland Trailblazers back at it tonight for Game 3 of a 7-game homestand, this time against the Orlando Magic. Jeremy Grant listed as questionable with a sore ankle. Despite Portland's recent success, Orlando is a 5.5-point favorite. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. And on the college hardwood, the 16th-ranked Ducks on the road taking on UCLA as a 4.5-point underdog. Coverage starts right here on the Fan at 7. Tip-off at 7:30 on FS1. And the Pilots also in action, also on the road taking on Loyola Marymount. They are 11.5-point favorites, Loyola Marymount is. Coverage starts at 9:10 or at 6:30 on 910 ESPN. Tip-off for that one set for 7 on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Hey, Dirt and Sprague here, sticking around for our good friends at Trajan Wealth. Start the new year off right with a new financial plan called Trajan Wealth today. 503-207-6000. Make sure you have a game plan for your retirement.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
If you're wondering what portion of the sports calendar we're in that weird layoff week where there's the Super Bowl looming, but it's not this week, it's next week. So you don't really want to talk too much Super Bowl this week. Also, it's a game that many people are looking at like, oh, God.
I disagree with you.
Oh, I think I'm right on this
I
one.
think you're wrong.
You think people are excited about Chiefs-Eagles again?
Well, one, this is one of my favorite weeks because I get to be the dirty little bird who goes home and goes, oh, we can talk basketball. But no,
Slips some NBA. I mean, you're going to get all of basketball in like 2 weeks. Football season will be done. It'll be all hoops.
Yeah, give that a week and then shut up, man.
Yeah.
Move on to baseball.
That's
Move on
true.
to anything. College football, spring ball's back.
I mean, it's right around the corner.
It is. Hawaii starts in 7 days.
You're damn
That
right
is
they do.
insane to say out loud.
You're damn right they do.
Yeah, I flipped my opinion on this. I was kind of with you for a long time. I think I have multiple clips a couple weeks ago where you can catch me saying like, oh, Eagles, Chiefs, come on, no, please. And I just watched those games, and Washington kind of crumbled with the turnovers, but they were certainly more in that game than I think that score indicates.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills were damn close. And my takeaway is we have a chance to see something we've never seen in our entire lives, the greatest dynasty run in debatably sports history. I know you can point to the Bulls. I know you can point to the Celtics years and years ago. To think an NFL team, not only has this never happened to three-peat, I believe no other team in the history of the league that's won back-to-back has even gotten to the Super Bowl the third year. So they're already making history.
Patriots went to 3 straight, but they lost the middle one.
Yeah.
They won the first one, lost the second one, won the third one.
Yeah. So one back-to-back have never, So I just, there's an appreciation for that kind of greatness, and I also love how hot and bothered they make people, and then like the other side of that is how great it is. And then Philadelphia, I mean no disrespect to Chiefs fans, they certainly don't need to hear anything negative and be mad about it. I think they got a slightly better team, but I don't know if they're going to win because I think Mahomes and Reed are going to manipulate rookie DBs, and is Jalen Hurts going to win a game if Saquon doesn't get loose? But Saquon's having historically such a monster year. I think it's going to be another great game. The last time they played it was a great game, was it not?
It was a great game.
I think we're going to have a very similar
it'll be
game.
a one-score game. I know that.
there
It'll
you go.
come down to the wire.
What do we want in our Super Bowls?
I think you are conflating the excitement over a three-peat with the fact that America's excited for this Super Bowl. I don't think that's the case.
You don't think this is a split? I mean, they have 54 or 57 million
I mean,
people
the number
watch?
that was Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, and quarterbacks are sexy. How many people watched the NFC title game? Did you see that number?
It was at 47.
I mean, it's massive. It was 44. 44 million is still an insane number.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
but that is a big gap because you had Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. It was Buffalo versus Kansas City.
But Mahomes losing, like, that's kind of the part of this that I like, is they are both loved and a villain.
If they lose the game, I mean, look, the numbers, it's the Super Bowl. People are going to watch the Super Bowl. I think I'm coming from it of the perspective of I think we're being like, we're getting dragged to it. Like, all right, fine.
Well, it's because you think the outcome is obvious,
I think it's a foregone conclusion.
And a lot of people would probably say Dirt's right there, and I'm not pushing back against that notion. But if you get Philadelphia within a field goal again,
Kansas City will win the game because they'll get a stop when they need to, or Mahomes will score when he needs to.
Or how wild would it be if they get that penalty that Smith-Schuster got in the last time they played, and then they kicked the game-winning kick?
That was such a great game last time they played. The ending was such a dud because remember they got the holding call.
Yep.
And I think it was a tie game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, because they went on a field goal.
And then they just, kneaded out until the clock was at 1 second and kicked a field goal. So, the last, minute, if I remember correctly, it was, the last, minute and a half of that game was just Kansas City running the clock down and kick a field goal. And we all knew Bucker wasn't going to miss the field goal. And so it was this great back-and-forth game with all these, lead changes and momentum swings. And then the last 2 minutes of it was, let's watch Kansas City take a knee for 2 minutes and then kick a field goal.
I think, though, that sometimes we pine publicly for things that don't always mean good. Bills Commanders was something we threw out, right? That was a possibility. Hey, how cool would this be?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Commanders get there and the Bills win by 2 touchdowns and it's never close.
Yeah, could have happened.
So I don't know. I think the tough
Bills
part
Lions is the people's Super Bowl. Bills Lions is the
100%.
common man Super Bowl.
And I think that would have been a great game. Yeah. I really do.
But healthy Detroit defense.
I think even this Detroit, I just don't think they played a good game that day, and they lost. The Commanders took it from them. But these are the two best teams. When we watch heavyweight fights, do we want to watch the Cinderella story of heavyweight, or do we want to watch the two best fighters?
Nah, I don't want the two best fighters.
Who are the two best fighters this year?
Get that good fighter out of there.
It's the Eagles and
boring.
it's the Chiefs.
Get that other good fighter out of there, too. He's cheating. It's rigged for him.
I want to see what that down and distance was, by the way. I just pulled up the box score.
For the end of that first Super Bowl?
For when that penalty was called, because I want to say, in my mind, it was third down, and that's why it was like, oh,
because they were going to have to kick a field goal, and it was a longer distance, if I remember correctly, and it would have left time for Philadelphia had the penalty not been called.
Give me just a second.
And instead, it was like an automatic first down, and I feel like Philly had no timeouts left, and it was just like, okay, we all know this is dumb. They're just going to knee it 3 times and then kick a field goal.
Okay, here it is. So 35 all, touchdown with 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. So they went on a 12-play drive.
Capped
Shocking.
off. Mahomes found a way to score on a game-winning drive. I can't believe. I am shocked that happened. I think he's 11 for 11 in those circumstances.
You know, at
in his
least the
playoff
Patriots
career.
got caught cheating. At least, like, Deflategate and Spygate.
Yeah, they got to the 9-yard line with 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
It was 4th and 8 at the Philly 9 with. I mean, that was the most obvious. Well,
Like, he's not going to miss this field goal.
and
It's
I was
over.
right. Now the distance, it still would have been a makeable kick.
And Bucker's been great in the playoffs.
I mean, Bucker's, he's not in the kitchen. It was 3rd and 8 at the Philadelphia 15.
How much time left?
1:54 when they threw that incomplete
flag.
incomplete pass, and Smith-Schuster drew the penalty on Bradbury.
Yeah, so they would have had a minute and some change to score.
They would have had almost 2 minutes.
Had that flag not been thrown, needing a field goal to tie the game to go to overtime or a touchdown,
to win it. And at that
Kansas
point,
City's defense would have gotten a stop and won the game.
Well, Philadelphia's offense had 35 points in that game and just total yardage. So in that, Philadelphia had 417 total yards, 300 yards on the ground. Kansas City's defense did shut their run game down. They only had 115.
Yeah, Hurts had a really good game that day. Schulte, let's go to you on this one. Are you excited for this Super Bowl?
I mean, I want to see the Chiefs lose, but what am I supposed to be excited about?
Your is exactly why Dirk goes home and goes, I was right today.
I mean, I feel
nailed another one.
I'm definitely, I don't
Where Dirk was
represent
right.
every sports fan, but I do feel like I try to, base my takes on logic, and I just don't feel interested. Yes, I hate
a
Patrick
three-peat
Mahomes.
on the horizon with a Philadelphia team that people hate a city of.
I mean, it's going to be historic, sure, and I'm going to watch it, but it's not like the same love that I have tuning in to watch like LeBron James, the greatness on the NBA court that I'm never going to see again. Even though I hate him, I got to see it. With this, it's just not the same.
You don't hate the Chiefs, and you don't like the Chiefs.
No, I don't. I don't like the Chiefs. I just really
the hatred doesn't make you want to watch them potentially lose a three-peat.
I think there's the feeling. I think the feeling that I have is something that you're not giving enough credence to.
I don't think the Eagles can do it.
That's exactly it.
So
like
what
we
do
know
I care?
Kansas City. If this is a one-score game, Kansas City's going to win
because
all they do is win.
The NFL's never going to.
Come on,
they're going to get a holding call on 3rd and 8 with a minute and 55 left, and Philly will have no timeouts left. They're going to run the clock down. They're going to kick a game-winning field goal.
Kansas City has been one of the biggest choking cities in sports in my life until they got number 15.
Well, he
in Andy
breathed
Reid.
on Pat Mahomes, 15-yard penalty.
I mean,
we're going to see
look,
that 3 times.
Some bad calls. What I don't think you guys are doing enough, in my defense of this is going to be a great heavyweight game. Philadelphia's got the team to end this. And
So did the Niners twice.
Yeah, well, you know what? Kyle
So did the
Shanahan
Bills.
gets in his way, and sometimes their pass rushing studs don't do anything. And my God, go look at the box score of Debo and George Kittle in both Super Bowls. They're basically non-existent. And George Kittle's probably the second best or third best tight end in the last 10 years, right? You got Gronk, you got Kelsey, and you can debate, but I think you just have to give that to Kittle. And in the Super Bowl, nothing. I think this team, this Philly team, has Saquon Barkley. They've got Devonta
Christian
Smith, Dallas
McCaffrey,
Goedert.
Brandon Ayuk.
But those
Debo Samuel.
Look, I love my team. I think my
Nick
team
Bosa,
was very similar
Fred
in this.
Warner.
They were better, and they could not out-coach and execute the other.
Yep.
And they did not take advantage of their opportunity. I give this a real shot for the Philadelphia Eagles to win. Don't press me on who I'm gambling on right now.
We all know who you're going to gamble on. We all know. We're all gambling on Kansas City.
But you guys are residing, I think a lot of football fans are, that this team's just never going to lose. And that's not the case. They're going to lose.
Okay.
And why would you not want to be there watching it?
I mean, I'm going to watch this. It's the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch.
Mahomes is going to have an
gonna have a
Aisha
meltdown.
Curry-like meltdown.
This is rigged!
Trump! Sign it! Change it! Taylor Swift crying in a press box. Travis Kelce dropping his head. A loss.
It's Trump time.
I'd honestly.
All right, we got to go. It is 7:50. We got to go.
Kelsey wasn't dating
We went a little bit longer.
take
I wasn't even going to talk about the Super Bowl. I was going to get to something else.
This is going to be a great game, and
Nobody
I don't
cares.
understand why
Nobody
we all
cares.
know that, and yet we don't.
I'm
act
excited
like
for the
we
Waste
care.
Management round 4 that morning. That I'm excited for.
What's the NBA Finals you want to see?
I'll tell you after the break.
Celtics Thunder?
Would you shut up over there? God, it's almost the final hour already. Let's get to what I was going to talk about, which probably won't happen because we'll continue to yell about this, about how bad the Super Bowl is going to be. And then we'll get to a couple other things. Back after this on the Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
He was 17. Has yet to score in this third quarter, and there it is. Tyrese gets it to go, and he'll have a three-point opportunity. Let's see if this will get Maxey and the Sixers going.
Well, he was able to lose his defender, Monk, out on the perimeter, so when he attacked, the defense was in a vulnerable position.
How about that one? 4 in a row. Somebody break up the 76ers. They beat the Kings last night, 117-104. That's NBC Sports in Philadelphia.
It's one of the only silver linings of where the Blazers are is at least Philly, one of the teams around them in the standings, has now won 4 games in a row because Portland has no chance of catching the bottom 5 or 6 teams in the league, so at least Philly seemingly shouldn't catch them for one of the worst records.
I was stinking up the Kings last night against Philly. Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube. by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. If you're wondering where the Daily Ticker went, that will be at 8:30. Tyson Alger, our good buddy, will join us. We'll talk some Oregon hoops. They're down at UCLA tonight. They need a bounce-back win because they lost over the weekend at Minnesota.
I tend to get to 8:30 o'clock at night and be like, how's anybody even awake and out?
How is anybody functioning?
He played a rec league men's hockey game last night.
Yes, he did.
Starting at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock start time. Ice time is ice time. And that's the ice time you get. That's the ice time you get.
We live much different lives. Well, I mean, I don't think he wanted to wake up at 8:15 to do a radio.
No,
interview.
I texted him and he said, why do you always ask me to come on the morning after a 11 o'clock hocky game? I was like, it's just the way the universe aligns sometimes.
I meant dedication to the hockey.
That is dedication. That's dedication to the hockey. There's no doubt about that. One of our P1s, the YouTube chat saying, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'd rather go shopping with the wife than watch Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. Whoa. Take me to a TJ Maxx, baby.
I enjoy shopping with my wife.
I can't stand it.
Really?
So what I was going to get to in that last segment before it was rudely hijacked by premature Super Bowl.
Is marriage okay?
I was going to use a word there that I can't use. Maybe I can use. I don't know. Should we rename? I was going to say this is that weird lull where we don't talk about the Super Bowl yet, but then we ended up talking about the Super Bowl where we get these other dumb headlines. And yesterday's dumb headline was we should rename the Lombardi Trophy for Tom Brady.
Well, do you know who said the dumb headline?
Bill Belichick said it.
I mean,
players
should we rename that?
Players win Super Bowls, not coaches.
No, let's not.
What if Mahomes wins more than Brady? Do we rename it for Mahomes then?
If there are awards left in sports that don't have like a name, if it's just like the MVP and there's no name for it, sure, let's name it.
Like the Bill Russell MVP NBA Finals trophy.
The DH award became the Edgar Martinez award in baseball, like because
the
nobody
Bobby
had.
Award.
Shut up! Shut up! You're gonna get me to swear at you on the air.
Shut up about the sun. Shut up about the sun.
Come on. Edgar, clean. Poppy, not. Okay.
Hall of Fame.
Both.
Thank you.
Who's got rings?
Shut up, dude. Doesn't matter. The Red Sox were better run than the Mariners.
Shut up about the sun. Shut up about the sun.
No, y'all know what I'm saying.
But
yes,
I was reading something.
I was like, this is where we're at in the sports calendar. Let's all debate for a day. Should the Lombardi Trophy be renamed after Tom Brady? Something that won't happen, but Bill Belichick said it, so we got to give it credit.
No, and while you could certainly make an argument for a few people of who the trophy should be named after based on their most recent success, it just wouldn't have the same pop. There is something about saying, the Lombardi Trophy. Now, I would argue in this conversation, having just read some stuff on the NBA history, the fact that the trophy is called the Larry O'Brien it's just egregious. It's dumb.
Because of who Larry O'Brien was? Who
just
was Larry
wasn't
O'Brien?
A very good commissioner.
I don't even
just
know. He was the commissioner of the league?
Terrible.
I mean, that's
Not
ridiculous.
good at all.
It shouldn't be named after a commissioner.
I would agree with that.
Does the World Series trophy have a name?
I don't.
The Flags trophy?
So.
I don't think it does.
Series trophy name?
I think it's just the World Series
How
trophy.
did you guys not know this?
I don't know. Larry O'Brien, I know. I didn't know
Oh, no,
who
it
Larry
is. It
O'Brien
is called the Commissioner's
Commissioner's
Trophy.
Trophy.
Yeah,
Commissioner's
that's
Trophy.
ridiculous.
That's akin to like when, and I didn't see much of the post game in Philly because the AFC title game was starting.
Yeah.
Right after the game, so I didn't watch any of the celebration. Like I flipped over and went to CBS for it. Man, my blood boils every time there's a championship presentation. We have to deal with one, the commissioner being on the stage. Nobody likes you. And then two, I know not in the NFL for AFC, I don't think he was there, but for the Super Bowl he will be.
Yeah.
And then that we hand the trophy to the owner. Like every time it grinds my gears, man. Hunt, that Nepo baby who inherited an NFL team and built a penthouse in his stadium, who's widely known as one of the cheaper bad owners. He just won the lottery because Philly wanted to fire Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes fell to him in the draft. Is now this genius guru, and we got to give him the trophy first. Get the hell out of here with that crap.
Well, but if your family gets together at a big restaurant and your dad picks up the bill, do they go up to you and say, hey, thanks for bringing us all together, or do they go up to your dad first and say thanks?
Well, this would be the equivalent of me cooking the meal and then go and thanking my dad for creating me for cooking the meal.
I mean, you maybe should do that. Why don't you love your dad more?
This is so ridiculous.
You don't like shopping with your wife and you don't tell your dad you love him. Like, I mean, what's going on here?
We never have to entertain the idea of the Blazers winning anything meaningful. meaningful, but imagine them actually winning something meaningful and Jody Allen being the one on stage in the reception. And let's give her the trophy first. Like, what are we doing here, man?
Who would you name the World Series trophy after? Because who cares about the commissioners? They gave us a tie in an All-Star game. Because I'm trying to, maybe Auerbach, or maybe just Jordan. Maybe just lean in and be like, this league ain't anything without Jordan, the Jordan trophy.
The Jordan trophy.
Who would you name the baseball one after?
That's a good question. Let's noodle on this. We'll get to it in the final hour.
The Yankee Invitational?
Because it's already the final hour. So let's get to this to start the final hour that we're already in.
We couldn't call it the Mariner Invitational for obvious reasons.
They've never
Edgar
been.
couldn't carry him to a World Series the way Poppy did the Red Sox.
They're the only team in Major League Baseball history that's never been to a World Series. The only one.
That's crazy.
The only one.
Big Poppy.
Every other team's been there.
Rename the DH trophy.
Except for one. But they're having a great offseason. They're spending a lot of money.
Do you love your dad?
Next year's going to be different.
Your poor wife.
Crunch Time brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver online. Crunch.com. Tyson Aldridge coming up bottom of the hour. I got some NFL offseason notes to look at, including what is one team going to do going forward, and is this quarterback position settled? We'll start. What should we name trophies? Final hour next on The Fan.
Need inspiration? Chef Fred Meyer for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless
It's time for Dirt and Sprague.
We have a trophy here that we're going to present. It's the World Championship Trophy, and it goes to the world champion, Portland Trailblazers.
With Andy Dirt Johnson.
You're going to go back to throw the ball. Sets up, looks, throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The next hand of the ball! Down to the 35, the 40. Kenny Wheaton's going to score! Kenny Wheaton is going to score! 20! That's in!
And Brendan Sprague.
Smith hands to Simonton. Simonton around the corner. Is he going to score? The crowd is on the field. Look out, everybody. The Beavers have won.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Lillard, long range three. And it's good! At the buzzer! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube.
That's my guy!
Fun question out of that open, which I do genuinely enjoy. How long until we get a Blazer highlight that replaces that highlight?
Duval. Tonight, Tumani Kamara, Magic.
beat the Magic at home. It's going to do it.
Well, whenever it is going to probably have a similar vibe. We may not go 14 years, but just that feeling of, oh my God, this young dude lifted us up.
Look at that. We're back, baby.
If it's 6 years until they win a playoff series or 7 years, it's going to have that same vibe because you would imagine at that point it's Cooper Flag.
You would think so. It's going to happen, man.
Over under 4 years until that happens.
I would take the over.
Until they win a playoff series?
I would take the over. At this point, yeah, I would take the over.
What if I went 3.5? Well, I guess I did 4 years.
Yeah.
4.5,
You'd have to go 5. 5 is where I mean, God, if that's... if you don't win a playoff
right
series...
now, today, 2029.
What was the last time they won a playoff series? The Western Conference Finals run?
Yeah.
Yeah, 17, 18.
Yep.
So it's already been 6 years, 7 years since they won a playoff series?
That was 18-19, right?
Sorry, yeah, 18-19.
And then 19-20.
Let me search it. I'm going to search it. Let me
Yeah.
Google it. Let me find out. The last time they won a playoff series was 2018-2019. So it would have been 2019. So we are going at the conclusion of this year, would have already been 6 seasons since they've won a playoff series.
So
if you went 5,
5.5 years,
you would then be at 11 years without winning a playoff series.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is I think the next time they win a series, it may not be in dramatic
It'll
fashion.
end that kind of drought if you get a shot like that in the series, to your point.
Yeah, and like...
Because they had the bubble year the next year. They lost in the first round of the Lakers after winning the first game. Remember that? That was fun.
Oh, people talked themselves in we were going to win
over
that
the one.
series. We got Nurkic, we got Nurkic.
Dude, was that the best game ever was in the bubble? His numbers in the bubble were insane.
Is that the year he had the 55-point?
I just remember him going.
CJ
I don't
game?
remember leading. No, that was the next year in the playoffs.
That year.
That was the Denver year where they lost in 6 games.
The
and
bubble,
CJ McCollum stepped out of bounds, and Damian Lillard maybe had the greatest postseason performance of all time.
The bubble's weird because I'm not one that takes credit away from anybody that did anything in the bubble. I think that's kind of odd.
Unless it's the Dodgers.
He was stellar in the bubble.
Yeah.
But I think that's still one of the greatest playoff games we're ever going to see in the league.
The one that he had against Denver and lost?
Yes.
Yeah.
55 points.
Yeah.
What was he? He was something like 17 of 24.
I'm going to go pull that up.
I mean, it was absolutely insane. He didn't miss his efficiency numbers.
Yep.
It's like one of the most efficient games we've ever seen in any sport ever.
Yep.
And CJ McCollum didn't know he was out of bounds.
I think it was the last game of the series, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was game 5. So it was a 2-2 tied series.
Yeah.
They went back to Denver for game 5. They lost 147-140 in 2 overtimes. In that game, Damian Lillard, where is he? He had 55 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. He was 17 of 24 from the floor.
Nailed it, yeah.
And 12 of 17 from 3.
It's just the efficiency is dumb. The dumbness
CJ
of the
McCollum was
efficiency.
7 of 22 for 18 points and a -7.
Stepped out of bounds.
And he stepped out of bounds.
Stepped out of bounds. But we can't trade him.
Hot take, but maybe not so hot. I don't think the Blazers are going to get anywhere near past like the play-in until past 2030. We're looking at, in my mind, 6 seasons.
I mean, that's 5 years.
You're talking
2030 in 5
They won't
years.
get past the play-in. They won't be like a 6 seed.
No. In my opinion, I don't think they're getting out of this decade. with getting into the playoffs, unfortunately. Yeah, they might sneak it as like a 9 seed.
Hey, what's your deal, guy? Why are you so negative, huh? God, quit being so negative over there.
I don't know. Why?
God.
Because I'm sick of seeing people going after seeing Damian Lillard go dap up Jody Allen on Twitter, being like,
cook.
there's a reunion coming.
Let him
Damian's coming back. Guess what, Blazers simp fans? No, he's not. And even if he did, that's the experience and the existence you want as a sports fan?
That's my guy.
God!
Corn is popping.
The corn is popping.
Corn is popping.
That's my guy right there.
I made
my
popcorn
guy.
yesterday on the stovetop. Some olive oil and some seeds. Man, it could be dangerous if you lift that little lid that you put on top to keep the
You did it like old-timey way, huh, to make a popcorn?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah and no.
It gets really hot that way. Like it almost.
If you
gotta
cook
be
it too
careful not
long,
to
it can
burn
burn quicker
Okay.
than the microwave burns
I've never
it.
done it that way. I've always been a microwave guy.
Yeah, I wanted to try
It's
it.
so easy. You got a microwave button, you just
Yeah.
press it, and you set it there.
I know. And then you read these random articles like, how unhealthy is that bagged popcorn for you? But no, I just had extra seeds and I had no bagged popcorn. But it could be a little dangerous. It shoots off. That was corn popping right there.
That was corn popping.
That was corn
Pop,
popping.
pop, 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 pop,
So
pop.
what should I do as a poll question? 5.5 years over under?
Yeah, I think
To win a
I
series?
think you do 5.5 years until they win it, not make the playoffs, win
Yeah,
a playoff
win a playoff
series.
series.
Not to the point of Schultz. He's saying he doesn't think he'll be in the top 6, but if the question is winning a playoff series, I would probably take the over on that. I just would look around the Western Conference right now.
Oh, you can't play this game in the NBA though, man. 2 years from now, you have no clue who's on anybody's team and who's crumbled.
I mean, you're not wrong,
If I
but
would've told you
is
2
Oklahoma
years-
City going anywhere?
Well, no, but if I would have told you 2 years ago the Rockets were going to be the 2 seed in 2 years, you and everybody with a brain probably would have laughed at me.
Did they have Jalen Green at that point 2 years ago?
What is this year?
Because he's pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, but 2 years ago, the Rockets were bad.
Hey, Light the Beam 2 years ago. You guys were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, Light the Beam 2 years
They
ago
did.
was the best story, and now they didn't make the playoffs.
They're done. Mike Brown's
2 years
gone.
ago,
You
Jalen
just
Green
don't-
was averaging 22 points per game.
Okay, thank you.
Bitch.
I don't know why I'm a bitch. You don't know. Is Ann Edwards a Minnesota Timberwolf in 2 years?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
Any of these guys that we're talking about, does Portland have somebody even comparable to a star on their roster right now?
They've got 4.
Okay,
Maybe 5.
Are they anywhere near? Not even like an Ant Edwards, but what's like the second tier NBA star right now?
Tumani.
Stop it! You're
Shea.
telling me that Tumani and Shaden are comparable to like a, I don't know, like a.
The funniest
Like a
thing,
Jalen Brunson? Like, what are you talking about?
They need to, all jokes aside, they need to draft, and I think we've seen this, they need to draft their Ann Edwards. I don't want to get into draft lottery stuff, but like that's just something I think is almost universal, right? Scoot and what he is as a point guard, I think it's hard to define that clearly. If you want to, you can, but let's see what they are with a new coach. Donovan is still physically just not quite there. Even when he plays, he's just a little... doesn't quite look like he's in shape, if we're just being honest here. Shea is an in-and-out guy. We know Denny and 2 are not like stars that lead your team to a championship.
Does Shea strike you guys as somebody that like bleeds basketball, wants to stay at the court?
Some days, no.
Exactly.
It's probably my big, and I've highlighted this through the whole baby Kobe experience.
baby Kobe experience.
I would
take that name right the hell off.
I would prefer my star. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I would prefer my guy, if he's going to be my guy. I'd like to know what his voice sounds like. And I don't know if you could play 15 or 5 or 2 voices if I could identify Shaden Sharp.
The only thing I know how he says is mac and cheese because he had that famous episode or a clip a couple of years ago where they did a this or that video for Thanksgiving. He just said mac and cheese 47 times. And
The Cobra.
He's not wrong on that. Mac and cheese is delightful and
Right.
better than all those other side dishes.
I wish Calabro would do a Ben Stiller thing, the dodgeball, when he says Cobra on the broadcast.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice.
Talking
wouldn't
about
it?
Shaden Sharp.
It was funny. I think it was Bill Oram that pointed this out. Somebody pointed it out, and I don't know. All these opinions are jumbled together. Of like, it's funny how the Blazers went from having a star with nothing around him to having good role players without a star.
Yeah, I think that was in his most recent piece.
And
'cause
it's
Dan
like
came back.
you went from you solved one of your issues. The unfortunate part in solving your issues, you got all these guys that would have fit really well alongside Damian Lillard. 2 and Denny, like these would have been really good pieces to have alongside Dame when he was here at the peak of his powers. But instead, we surrounded him with sub 6'3" guards and thought that's a lineup that's going to win seriously in the NBA. And now we have good role players, but to Schultz's larger point, I mean, you have nobody anywhere near any of that elite conversation in the NBA. And if there's one thing that's true that you cannot deny about this league over the last, century, you have to have multiple of those guys to win at the highest level. And until you have multiple of those guys, you're not going to do anything.
Can we just get one to start?
Let's just get one.
Start
Sure.
at one.
That's a good start.
With some upper echelon role guys that nobody pays attention to because they tip off at 7 o'clock, Pacific.
And they're on national TV once a year when they play Damian Lillard.
That would be the goal. Like, get the one.
Get one guy.
Put them with what some of these dudes are.
Go from there.
Get rid of the vets,
Here
which
we
may
go.
take 2 more years.
And hey, to bag on myself, Scoot's been playing well recently. He's had a good 5, 6, 7 game stretch.
It's been a great 8th man.
That's why he's off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. That's
why
why
we're not
Chauncey wants to
starting
bring him off the bench.
That's why. We don't want to give him those key minutes in the fourth quarter. Why would we do that?
We just had our boss drop off something by our door, and I can't tell. Is it something Swag's going to...
Is it a pink slip? Did we just drop off a... Is it the Blazer conversation
not
that did
the
it? Did
pink
we just
slip.
get fired in the middle of a segment? Oh, my God. That's not good.
No, we didn't.
All right. We went a little long there. Let's get back on the clock.
You won't shut up.
Would you shut up over there? God, you guys won't stop talking.
Horns keeps popping.
I don't even remember what I was going to get to next. Oh, NFL offseason. What do we make of the future of this team? And how about this quarterback making a decision? That's next on the Fam.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Here's Grant in the front court. Trying to pry himself free. He does. Gets to the window and laid it in as he takes De Silva in deep.
That is the other night the Blazers were playing, and Jeremy Grant, a week before the trade deadline, got hurt, and now we're not sure if he's going to be able to go tonight against Orlando in that Milwaukee win. He only played 16 minutes, and the guy who signed a max contract extension is averaging 14 points per game this year.
Yeah, as we heard from John Corrales and others, it's not a greatly viewed contract around the league. I want Jeremy to be healthy, and I also say, well, you're not playing. That means there's more minutes for the young guys.
That is true.
It's a weird in between of like, I'm sorry you're hurt, but it's kind of nice for these younger guys.
Need these guys to get hurt. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Christopher Nansen, visit rocpdx.com.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd.
The Raiders are
Fan.
All right, welcome back in. We're getting a little hot in here. Our AC's not working today.
Mike's falling off.
Corn Pop and I are sweating it out over here.
Corn Pop's mic just
Here, we'll turn the YouTube on. This is where I'm at right now.
Well, that's because you popped too hot, Corn.
That's right.
I can't.
There's that Blazer rant in the last segment. You singed the whatever you call it.
Well, and then we're
going to
get 700 texts about, oh, you're so negative, Jordan. Why don't you just root for the team that we have and just be supportive? Because they're lying to you. Because they are expecting your money and expecting you to act dumb like you are right now. Doing exactly what they want.
Gotta let him cook. Gotta let him cook when he's going off. Our boss did not deliver pink slips. We're still here, if you could tell. We did not get fired in the last segment, but he did deliver. He delivered a water cooler to us. We have a water cooler outside the studio now.
Well, he's been with the company for a long time. And He's certainly worked his way and earned what he has gotten. And a lot of people, including us, are excited about him having the position of
Yes.
boss.
He's a big fan guy. When big fan guys get the big boss job, we're big fans of that fan guy.
Yes, we are. I kind of appreciate what he's doing here. And I don't know if there's some business part of this. Bring back the water cooler. Meet Doug at the water cooler to talk about the game last night and share hot takes.
I want to share my takes with the coworkers outside the studio after the show as I'm filling up my water at the water cooler. He mentioned that he was thinking about doing this a while back, of bringing our water cooler closer to the studio.
Oh, he mentioned? I didn't
know.
He
mentioned this to me, and now I didn't realize during the segment that was what he was dropping off. And I did make the joke to him. I was like, the kitchen's not that far of a walk to go get water. And he was like, no, on a commercial break, you don't have a lot of time. You need to fill up your water. And I was like,
very nice of him.
Dude, that is the most anybody has ever thought of us as on-air staff in a long time.
Nice.
He just saved me 2 minutes every time I need to go fill up my water.
I one time cleared out an area for me and Dirt to sit in so we could do a night show and have a desk to prep for.
You did, yeah.
And we went in there and we cleared out an area of just promotional garbage. I mean, stuff from 1994 that nobody touched.
There were flyers from shows that hadn't been on the fan in 15 years.
Just perfect computers not being used, dust collection. I'm like, we could sit here. And I'm like, let's just move this stuff. And I cleared it out, and the next day, our boss brings me in. Listen, you little twerp, don't you talk. I just got screamed at.
Yeah, you got reamed for that one.
And now our boss is bringing us water coolers
Look
right
at
to the door.
Look at us coming full circle.
Progress, huh?
Come on, baby.
Odyssey Station.
That's what we do around here. I want to get to this. So, report came out yesterday. I don't know what we make of them next year. They're an interesting team because they've come very close the last couple of years.
By the way, we have an NFL team that just nobody wants to work for. Nobody's talking about that because nobody cares about them, but the Saints don't have a head coach.
Yeah, everybody's opting out of it.
You didn't even remember that.
No,
I
totally
that.
forgot.
What is he talking about?
Yeah.
What is happening in New Orleans?
It's their cap situation the next 2 years. Why would anybody take that job? There's no way you could succeed in that job.
I think the ownership group is a mess.
They'll end up hiring somebody that'll get fired in 2 years. Then they'll get out of their cap situation and try and figure it out from there. Spags, do it for the NFL. Give them the job. It sounds like, according to NFL media, Matthew Stafford planning on to play in 2025.
Good for him.
We get one more run with the LA Rams, who are an interesting team because they have. They haven't won big. I don't think they've won a playoff. Or they won a playoff game this year. They beat the Vikings. But they've come very close.
They won their first game.
That game was so bad, I forgot it even happened. They've come really close to pulling off big-time upsets. They had the ball.
They were close.
Driving late against Philly, who went on to win the NFC. And a year ago, they were in the same spot against Detroit on the road, and they had a chance to win that game. And so Stafford, one more year. I think this is the last of his 4-year deal or something. I don't know if he needs one more or they're going to restructure it. But Stafford's saying he plans on playing next year.
I mean, that means McVay's coming back because they'd be so screwed without a quarterback. I don't know what they would do. Who would they turn to?
I mean, that would be a total restart if he retired. Stetson Bennett, I think, is their own.
I wouldn't be a total restart.
Who's their backup right now?
It was Jimmy G.
Play that fun game.
Yes,
That's right. It was Jimmy G.
Now, when I say it's not a total restart, at quarterback, it absolutely is. And you can say, well, that's Sprague, the most important position. I would say, you're right. I don't know how you didn't see what they were defensively in the last 6 weeks, including in that game. And I know they gave up that big run to Saquon where he's smacking himself in the face. Verse and Fisk should give you all the optimism that, now is time to maybe draft the quarterback to build around, to build up and let him learn for a year. Like, I'll be curious to see the Rams in the NFL draft now.
Yeah, do they take another guy? Because Jimmy G, like, whatever, backup, that's fine. He's clearly not the answer there long-term after Stafford.
Is Jackson Dart going to be available? Is that too high? Like, yeah. I'm curious to see what the Rams do here. This is great. I mean, the Rams, they capitalized in a way that my team just could not. They found the one year the Chiefs didn't make the Super Bowl, and they won that game in their own stadium, which is crazy. But he's been fantastic for him. His numbers didn't pop. I had him as a fantasy quarterback, and he was kind of useless.
No, to your point, late in the year, you go look at some of their wins. Remember, they won that Thursday night game against San Francisco 12-6.
He was game manager in a
beat
lot of
the
those
Jets
games.
19-9, and then they beat the Cardinals 13-9 to lock up the division.
But if they don't somehow let Jalen Carter just run free on a, what was it, third down or second down?
Yeah.
That set up a long third down. Maybe we're talking about the Rams here. I mean, it's just it is that sometimes it's that close, the teams that lose in divisional weekend to the Super Bowl. And like they got to a Super Bowl the year they got there. I think it was Jimmy Ward dropped an interception.
An easy interception that would have won the game.
Straight dropped it, gave him another down. They scored. They end up winning that game, I think, in overtime.
And then won the Super Bowl.
So big news for them. They should go in, I would imagine, as maybe the preseason favorite for the NFC West.
You would imagine so. That division is very interesting next year. The Niners getting Saleh back, but what's that roster going to look like? Can their defense improve? A lot of question marks around the NFC West. Seattle getting a new offense coordinator. One other team that I have my eye on this offseason, and I am very curious to see how the next couple of years go. Joe Burrow has had this kind of mystique about him. He's one of the few guys that we've seen go in and slay the dragon that is Patrick Mahomes. They did it in an AFC title game. They came close to winning that Super Bowl that we're talking about against the Rams. Joe Burrow was the best, if not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Statistically speaking, he was unbelievable. The problem for them was their defense. It was horrific. What have they long been known for in Cincinnati? Having a cheap owner. Now, they got the deal done with Joe Burrow finally. It took them a while, but they finally got that deal done. They still have not extended Jamar Chase, and they're saying right now that it's their biggest priority and they want to get a deal done. That guy's going to reset the wide receiver market. How is Cincinnati going to handle that contract negotiation? They're claiming that they want to bring T. Higgins back, who they franchise. Like, that ain't going to – he's not coming back. You don't have enough cash to make that happen. You are a cheap owner. And I find them fascinating because – sometimes quarterbacks can overcome the things around them. This year with Cincinnati, we saw with Joe Burrow, he was as good as he's ever been in his career. They couldn't make the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. Could not make the playoffs in the AFC because they lost some games early and their defense was atrocious and they lost a bunch of shootouts. I think ultimately they probably find a way to get the deal done with Jamar Chase, but how much just long-term is the cheapness going to affect Joe Burrow's career? Because he's one of those guys that early on got to a Super Bowl, in his third year, I want to say, as a starter? Maybe his second year as a starter?
I think it was his second year.
So it was right out of the gate. He wins in Kansas City. You're like, oh, my God, this guy's sky's the limit. Yeah. And then he's only been to the playoffs like one other time, and now they just had to fire their defense coordinator. I don't know. That's just one that I'm keeping my eye on. Is he going to be good enough to overcome the cheapness and incompetence that the Bengals have long been known for behind the scenes?
Yeah, it was year two.
Year two,
they got all the way to the Super Bowl.
His first full year as a starter because he got hurt as a rookie, I think 6 or 7 games in.
Yeah, they're interesting because we know traditionally they kind of have that reputation. And he's interesting for the slay the dragon theory that you throw out. He did it once, and he's the only one to have done it minus Brady.
Yep. That's how narratives work, man.
Kind of doesn't. Well, but you know what? Narratives do work that way. They don't seem to work the other way against him. I am in no way going to act like they didn't make the playoffs because of Joe Burrow. I've watched the Bengals play. I saw collectively what the defense was. They just fired their DC, so they're replacing that. But how many quarterbacks miss the playoffs and kind of just get no conversation? I think it's all
because
dumb.
He's got that one win under his belt. If he didn't have that one win, we'd probably do the same thing to him.
I'm trying to highlight how dumb all this can be, too.
It can be very dumb.
Quarterback plays MVP-like season, one of the greatest we've ever seen in the history of the game.
Defense sucks.
Doesn't make the playoffs, and for a lot of quarterbacks, that becomes the dumbest of narratives for them. I don't know how much you trust their ownership situation.
You don't trust it at all.
They might be one of these teams that just suffers from the quarterback contract, that they can't figure out how to go around this. And there's other teams in this conversation that have to pay these guys. but it is certainly historically and more recently one of the franchises that you look at and you say, are you guys going to make the right decision? I don't know why I would trust it.
Are you serious about spending the amount of money needed to win?
Chase and Hendrickson were
Hendrickson, by the way, needs a new deal as well. He's
Right
going to want to rip up that contract and win a new deal.
He's maybe the decoy.
Yes.
Won't win it, but I don't think, but like he probably should. And Chase certainly in the conversation for Opoy, even though they're going to give that to Barkley. That's a tough organization to put a lot of eggs in that basket.
Well, that's why it's so fascinating to me, because Burrow seemingly has risen above that narrative a little bit, to the point it's largely off of one game, and he was outstanding this year. That's a little unfair to him because he was as good as anybody in the league. But like this was I want to go pull up his numbers.
This year?
No, this is exactly what happened with Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
They had their years where they'd get to the playoffs, and you come up short. He had years of 32 touchdowns, 12 picks, 28 and 13. So he wasn't quite at the same level as Burrow, although it's a different league right now. And I'm not comparing the two. But eventually it got to a point where it was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore because we can't win. You're not serious. You don't spend enough money. You're one of the cheapest owners in the entire league. And I think it's the one thing that we forget from time to time about Mahomes, as good as he is, and nobody questions that he's the best quarterback in the NFL. They've largely won games the last 2 years because their defense is dominant. He has Andy Reid as his head coach.
The Eagles have this too.
They've drafted it exactly.
They make the right choices.
There is a teamwork aspect of it that just kind of gets thrown out the window whenever we have a conversation about Brady or Mahomes. We like to think that they did it on their own, when that's not the reality. Those guys are unbelievable, and you could say they're the best of all time, and that's fine. They don't win without Vinatieri hitting a big kick or Belichick coming up with a big game plan. Right. Spags doing what he's doing on fourth down against the Bills. It is still a team effort. And so it doesn't matter how good Joe Burrow is. If this is what the organization is going to look like the next couple of years, what's the narrative around him in 4 years if he doesn't win a playoff game? It's a narrative around him if their defense continues to suck.
It's going to be dumb.
And at what point does he get to that Carson Palmer breaking point of like, dude, I got to go. We can't do it. We won early because I was on a cheap contract. You're a cheap owner, so you capitalize on it. Now you're paying me what top quarterbacks make, and we're not going to be able to cut through that.
But you see, we got to go to Tyson. We're way over it.
Touche.
It is.
God, would you shut up over there?
You're the one that booked the guest.
God, what's the matter with you? I'm giving him 5 more minutes of sleep.
As much as he has a right to point to and say, like, you failed here, you failed there, you're not capitalizing, hard to be the guy that gets the $200 and whatever $1 million contract and be like, you're cheap. Because as an owner, even if I'd look at you and be like, really? That $200 million plus contract, I'm cheap, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard for those guys, I think, to say that out loud. And also, I'm fascinated to see how these organizations build with these contracts, because how many of those guys, the Burrows, are not going to be with those franchises their whole career.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how many guys end up jumping around, and if they can't, is there a breaking point for them? Oregon is back in action tonight at UCLA, a game you can hear right here on The Fan. And Tyson Alger is going to join us next, but first, here's Schultz with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the New York Jets have found their new defensive coordinator. Head coach Aaron Glenn announced that he will hire Steve Wilks as their next man to lead the D. He actually was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers and was fired following their loss to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. He then took the 2024 season off. Elsewhere, the Vegas Raiders deciding to retain defensive coordinator Patrick Graham under new head coach Pete Carroll. And on the college hardwood, the 16th-ranked Ducks on the road taking on UCLA tonight. Coverage starts right here on The Fan at 7, tip-off at 7:30 on FS1. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5 FM HD. Pelican Brewing, your local coastal brewery. Independently brewing since 1996. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time brought to you as always by our good friends at Pelican Brewing. They bring you today's Daily Ticker. 4 locations along the Oregon coast. Fly over to a Pelican location. Enjoy epic views and local brews all year long. Pelican Brewing looks forward to seeing you at the coast.
Hey, that's the right music.
We got the right music. Corn Pop got the job done. I want to talk Oregon UCLA. They play tonight. College hoops, Ducks back in action. We got to start though with the little cuties. I want a scouting report. How did the game go? What time did you get home? As our good buddy Tyson Alger joining us now, the I-5 corridor. You can give him a follow on Twitter at Tyson Alger. How'd the game go? How'd you play last night, Tyson?
The game went okay. We lost 2-1. It was the second game of the season, playing the defending champs. It was a good game, which made it a frustrating game. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, you're sitting there on the bench and you're focused in the third period, but all that's popping up in my head is, what am I going to say about Jackson Shellstad tomorrow on 1080 The Fan at 8:30 in the morning? So, you know, it's just hard to have your mind in two different places.
A fun fact about your rec league men's hockey team that you guys take very seriously, I still have from about 5 years ago.
You get your little cutie sweatshirt still?
I still have a little cuties t-shirt, and I still like wearing it. One, because the material. Two, it fits me like a glove.
Yeah.
But I still get people that come up all the time and, excuse me, are those little oranges on your shirt? And I said, they're little cuties, actually. And then they ask me, and I say, well, it's a legendary hockey team. And then that's all I tell them, and I walk away.
That's it. You guys sell that merch online anywhere? Can people go buy the little cuties merch?
Actually, we do, and we just had a new merch drop. So maybe we have to get you. Maybe we have to get you guys outfitted in some new gear.
I think we need some new gear, man. Well, you can blame us for the loss last night. That's fine. I call it bad coaching, but that's okay. We'll take the blame for the 2-1 loss in Game 2. What do we make of Oregon, Tyson? They're at UCLA tonight, so it's a Pac-12/Big Ten matchup, which is still very weird. The loss in Minnesota over the weekend, they played a lot of close games that they seemingly pull out at the end, but sometimes late in that Minnesota game, especially some of the late possessions weren't great. What have you made just kind of watching Oregon and the way they've developed this year?
Yeah, it's been a weird team because for the first time in what feels like years, that like they actually put together a strong enough non-conference schedule where we're not necessarily like sweating all of these losses like we might have been the last couple seasons, where it's like, oh gosh, they're going to have to win the whole conference tournament to get into the league or to get into the NCAA tournament. But yeah, like this is a really weird Oregon team. Like they're pretty darn good at playing up with their backs up against the wall. They've had, I think, like 5 or 6 games where they've come back from behind after halftime and come back to win. And outside of that Minnesota game, they've actually been fairly good on the road. But it's just, you know, they're not deep enough scoring wise to have a guy or two go cold. They're decent defensively, but this is one of the worst rebounding teams that Dana Altman's had in quite some time. And I think that's kind of just where they fall behind. It's if the shooters aren't hot, they just don't generate the second or third chance opportunity points that they might have in past years. So it's one of those things where you still look at their overall record, and I think, what are they at, like 4 or 5 losses right now? In past years, they've probably been at the 7 or 8 marker at this point.
Yeah,
they have a lot. They have a lot of quality wins. I know it's this newfangled NCAA talk, but I believe it's quadrant 1 wins is what we're talking about now, and the Ducks have actually racked those up. So it's a weird situation because they started really great, and I feel like they've been going through this lull. And outside of this UCLA game, like, things are about to start getting really tough. Turns out the Big Ten Conference likes playing basketball, and you still have the likes of Michigan State, Michigan, Wisconsin coming up here in February. So it's one of those things where, like, yes, right now on January 30th, they're sitting okay, but this next like 3 or 4 week stretch is really going to kind of determine not only seeding for the Big Ten Conference, but just how comfortable the Ducks are going into that thing.
I think a good poll question would be, do you have to be at least 78 to use the term newfangled? I think that was a great poll by you. Your piece on January 20th, I thought it was really good in highlighting the Purdue game, which I watched most of the first half live, and then I had to watch on the DVR the second half, but I left the first half going, Purdue missed all their shots. They're barely trailing. This is not going to end well. And I came home and found out it did not end well. Altman said after the game they're poorly coached, to which I like that you were like, no, we know you're a good coach. Like, it's not a coach thing. And that the arena felt like an airport at times, which we've talked about on this show. But I am curious. They're taking on a UCLA team whose own coach said they're soft, called them out. They're not having a great year by their standards. What you make of the matchup, and who is the second guy on the Ducks? In the years past of good Oregon teams, I feel like we could pinpoint 2 to 3 guys that we consistently felt like we tab. Who is the second? If Shellstad's not having a good game, who is the guy to carry the torch for them in those moments?
Yeah, it's evolved into Nate Biddle, but also Nate Biddle's not your traditional, like, depend on this guy to go out and fill up the stat sheet, sort of from an offensive standpoint. I mean, he is averaging, I think, 12.9 points per game, and he's been really, really necessary, especially with the departure of N'Faly Dante. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the problem for the Ducks is they just don't have that consistent third guy. I mean, like you could swap around like TJ Bamba, Brandon Angel, and Keyshawn Bartholomew, but it's almost like you're flipping a coin as to which one of those guys are going to be consistent and sort of output that Dana Altman can rely on. And so, it's just, again, this is an Oregon team where if things line up, I think they can be really good, but it's not a team that has a whole lot of wiggle room to it. And so it's interesting kind of the contrast of, Cronin and Altman talking about like their struggles this year, where Altman's all ready to just blame it on himself and say they're a poorly coached team. Whereas I think it was a couple weeks ago when Cronin was just basically touting his accomplishments at, I've won this. These kids don't follow. So it's just contrasting. It's just contrasting styles, which I think is fascinating too, that they've kind of flipped a little bit. UCLA isn't playing great ball. Oregon is playing when UCLA made the Final Four a few years ago. And back then, I remember UCLA was playing in the Portland Regional of the NCAA tournament. I remember watching Cronin and just thinking, like, boy, this guy really runs a tight ship. Like, this team has direction. This team knows what it's doing. And it's pretty drastic to see that kind of fall apart a little bit over the last few years. Maybe it's a coach that his voice just isn't falling correctly in their locker room, but it's just UCLA is a weird team. They're not nearly as disciplined as you would think they are. And, I think this is one of those games where Oregon's going to try to keep them below 70. That's Dana Altman's magic number. He thinks that if they can keep teams below 70, they have a chance, except for if it's Purdue, because Purdue was really good at winning a fight in a phone booth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's a weird season. I still watch a lot of these conference games, and I'm saying that in air quotes because it still doesn't feel normal. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that Minnesota game, but it's really hard to kind of, get into the college basketball season's already hard enough to find the rhythm of, especially when you have a good football team that extends into January and you're just trying to get your feet set. And it just has even more of a weird feeling to this season, I think, than the football run through the Big Ten.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I had that Minnesota-Maryland game, or Wisconsin-Maryland, whatever it was last night. I'm like, I should care about this, but it doesn't matter to me, and I don't know how long that'll take to feel normal, but maybe eventually we'll get there. There's nobody better locally covering the sports scene, Timbers, Ducks, Beavers, everybody involved. i5corridor.com, at Tyson Alger on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Kind enough to wake up this morning after a late night on the ice last night.
Be better.
Let's get a better effort from the little cuties next time, okay? And hopefully next time we try and book you, it won't be after an 11 o'clock hockey game. Thanks for getting up with us, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Take care.
There you go. Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor. Oregon at UCLA tonight. Some final thoughts on that. We'll wrap up the show. And we will do that coming up next. A Daily Ticker, as always, is brought to you by our great friends at Pelican Brewing. 4 locations along the Oregon coast. Fly over to a Pelican location. Enjoy the epic views, local brews all year long. Pelican Brewing looks forward to seeing you at the coast. A great spot for a Valentine's Day getaway. If you're looking for a romantic beach getaway, woohoo, buddy, go get some good Pelican brews. Wrap it up on a Thursday next on The Fan.
It's time for Protect This House, the impact of the home advantage in sports. Brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
Just outside a minute to go. They'll play out this possession defensively. 7-point game. Schroeder driving. Gives it up the paint. Oh, my goodness. The facial.
You get a facial last night?
Nope.
GP too. I didn't know he could dunk like that.
Really?
Yeah, he got up last night.
He's been doing that since college.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
I thought we injected him with illegal drugs when he was in Portland, and then we had to get a lawsuit filed against us.
That was still pretty messed up by the Warriors to do that to us and the organization. No, look, that's a good win for them. I didn't give them much of a chance. They're not a good team.
Until they get Jimmy Butler.
Well, yeah, and then maybe they dabble in the Jimmy Butler sweeps. You have Steph Curry. Like, what are you going to wait for? 4 years from now?
This
What
is
the hell
it.
the team
That
gonna
clock
be?
is ticking, man. That window's closing fast. Protect This House brought to you by Smartlight Home Design, a trusted local architectural design studio ready to bring your dream home to life. Visit smartlighthehomedesign.com.
Builders, Smartline Home Design is here to boost your business. Our 3
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, we got a little fired up in the back half of the show today. Lost track of time a few times.
Oh, corn was popping.
Corn was popping over there.
Yeah.
We get more corn popping tomorrow. I can't wait.
Appreciate you guys.
Back in tomorrow. Glad you're not puking
are you
anymore,
in tomorrow?
Schulte.
You're in tomorrow.
Yeah,
There we
Thursday,
go.
Friday today.
All right.
So this week, I mean.
That will do it for us, folks. Fun little show. If you missed any of it, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080thefan.
Well, maybe tomorrow we could talk more Tumani if he has a great game tonight against the Magic.
The Orlando Magic.
And your Ducks against the UCLA Bruins.
At least it's a 7:30 tip. It's a little bit better. It's a big one for Oregon. It really is. To Tyson's point, they've had years past where they've lost a bunch of games early, and you're pucker factoring as the year goes on. You don't really have that right now. But to his point, they got to go to Michigan. Michigan State hasn't lost a conference game. At Wisconsin coming up, Indiana coming up. You got tough ones. UCLA's a slight favorite tonight down in LA. So Be nice to get a bounce-back win after the road loss to Minnesota over the weekend. That will do it for us, folks. We went to Mobile for the Senior Bowl earlier today, and Tyson Alger as well joined us, so go check those at 1080thefan.com. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Like the video. Before we close it down, we'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm Ryan Horvath, here to help you